Hello, 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 beautiful people. I am so glad to be here with you today, and I am so excited to bring you my guest. I think I'm bringing you my guest. We had some tech issues, so I'm gonna pop her on the screen real quick, and we'll see what happens. Today we're talking about career breaks. So I have one career break expert who's muted. She can hear me now, but you're muted, so you got to unmute yourself, Katrina. I'm here with Katrina McGhee, the author, a best-selling author, the authoress of the best-selling taking a career break for dummies. Oh, look, she has it.
Mhm. Hi.
Yay. Hi, hi, hi. How you doing?
I'm so I'm good. And I'm like the life of a nomad, right? You're in a new
Okay.
place and you're like, how do I make it bright in
How does
here?
it
And
work?
the answer is, I don't know. I don't know
How
how
do
I
I
make
get
it
the
bright in here.
equipment to work? How do I get the
Yeah.
light to do the thing? Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so Kat- for you guys that don't know, Katrina and I are like friends outside of
Ah,
this.
yes.
So I have a ton of questions for her that you guys might not care about, but I'm going to start with my first one, which is where in the world are you, Katrina?
Girl, I am in West Virginia where I
Okay.
grew up.
Yes.
My mom just had a hip replacement surgery on
Ooh.
Wednesday, and that is
Ooh.
like a very big surgery.
Mhm.
And so I am her person. I am her recovery person. And so anytime she needs to get up, eat, do a thing, that's me. My niece is here
Okay.
too, so luckily
Okay.
she's helping. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm like here for 2 months taking care.
Oh, that's fun.
I
And you
know.
moved very recently, right?
Yeah, I was
Last
in
week?
Asheville for the
Right.
last six weeks or so. Before that, I was kind of floating around the southeast. But yes, it's been crazy, but good, but crazy. I'm glad I can be here, right? I think that's part of life is that you can be where you need to be for the people
Mhm.
that you care about. But
Yeah.
man, it is, yeah, it's a lot. I'm not, I don't have kids. I'm not used to taking care of people. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing.
Okay, so my mom, okay, we're gonna pretend my mom's not here. My mom had knee surgery, which has a harder recovery than hip surgery. I don't
Oh,
understand
okay.
why, but it
Okay.
does.
Hmm.
But like, baby, I was tested. So
Really?
find all the patients you can find, dig it up, put it on a plate, put it on reserve for when you need it.
Yeah.
Cause like you don't really like. I gotta get it. Like if she needs ice in the middle of the night, and she needs ice, I gotta get up
Right?
and do.
Right. Oh my God. Girl, my cat, so my niece has a cat that yowls
Ooh.
whenever he wants. He's like, "Rawr!" It's like loud. And for some reason, his yelling has just gone beyond my mom's threshold now that she's
Ooh,
like in pain.
okay.
And so I will get like 4 hours of sleep because I'm her person, right? In the morning,
Mhm,
like you said, when she has to get up and go to the bathroom, like I have to get up like 4 or 5 in the morning
mhm,
when she can't sleep. And then I'm like, Mom, I need to go get 2 more hours of sleep now that you're situated. And she's like, Great, great. And I like crawled into bed and then I hear the cat going, she's like, "God damn it, Otto. Shut up." And I'm like, I can't. She's like, Get this cat. And I was like, I just want to sleep. I
I
just
just
want to
I
sleep.
just I just wanna sleep. I just wanna sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, this is not why you guys came, and this is not what we're gonna talk about today, but we had to do some catching up.
Yeah.
There we go. But a lot
Anyway.
of you guys already know Katrina because Katrina spoke at the very first Exodus Summit
What? I
about
did.
career
Oh my
breaks.
gosh.
Yeah.
I still love that I got to do that. I talk about that. And I feel like everyone and their mom knows about Exodus Summit because you guys have grown so big. And I mean, I've been talking about it forever, but I always love when I find a new Black woman that is like, what? There's a what? And I'm like, go check it out. It's just for us.
Exodus
It's
Summit.
amazing. It's so cool. I just did this on LinkedIn yesterday. There was someone was like, I need to get out of here. I want to go abroad. Like, does anyone know? And I was like, why aren't you in this Facebook group? She's like, I had no idea. So anyway,
Yay. Yay.
yeah.
Okay, so Katrina, let's talk about where do you wanna start? Let's start
Where
there.
do you want to
What do you wanna talk about right now?
Oh my gosh, can I just talk about how freaking fantastically jealous I am of your Ritz-Carlton yacht experience? I just have to get that off
You
my chest.
can,
I just wanted to say that. I just
but,
had to say
like,
it
it
because
might
it's like,
open a 20-minute door, so I don't know.
well, I just wanted to say it looks so fantastic. And I feel like I do a good job of some really nice bougie travel experiences, but mine are relegated to the hotel. space
Mhm.
and like you taking it on the water, I was like, I have a new dream now.
But it was like a hotel on the water.
I know, but you took it on the water, which is
Yeah.
just, I mean, it's amazing anyway. So I just
But it
wanted you
is
to know I think it's amazing.
it has now ruined me. I'm in a moxie now, and it's
Mm.
very much giving like, why? Like, I why am I here?
Why am I doing here?
What
Yeah.
what is ha why would I now,
Don't you
mind you,
know?
it's a lot more
Yeah.
money than I want to spend. Even this hotel is more money than I want to spend a night, but I'm still
Hmm.
like, do they know who I am?
Yeah.
They do and they don't care,
And they
right?
don't
Like, they
care.
very much
They're like,
they see my
yeah.
name and they do not care about who I am. So, yes,
Yeah.
it was a great experience. It has, like I need, like, at least probably 3 years to forget about what that treatment was like so I can go back to staying, like, regular places,
Yeah.
like a regular person.
Yeah, I had that I was at the Miraval twice,
Mhm.
and that's like, it's just so nice to go everywhere and you never take out your credit card because they don't even tip. It's like a no tipping place.
Ooh,
So you
okay.
just like show up and you eat and then you leave and you do a thing. And it was like after that, I was like, why am I paying for my food? Should this just
Where
be
is that?
included? I've been to the one in Austin,
Uh-huh.
Texas, and the one in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay. I knew there's one in
Hmm.
Arizona, but I didn't know
Yeah,
there was
and
one
there's
in
one in the
Austin.
Berkshires too. Anyway, so
Okay.
yeah, I just want you to know, like I was watching your stories and feeling kind of jealous and at the same time it gave me a new dream, which I think is cool cuz I feel like, people tell me like, "Hey, I love what you're doing," and it
Mhm.
inspires me and I'm like, "Oh, this is kind of, like my life now." And then I see that and I'm like, "Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I still have big dreams."
And I think that's, like, something that in our space, we perhaps don't talk about enough, and it's that, like,
Mhm.
you could always have a new dream. Like, that cruise was a dream for me, and finally one day I was like, "What if I just did it?" Or like,
Yeah.
what if I just did it?" And the way it happened was, like, Stephanie and I, in order to keep going in the phase between, like, starting the planning for Exodus Summit each year
Mhm.
and like the work that goes into it. Remember the first year? I don't think you even realized the first year how, like, absolutely insane the work was.
It was so crazy, and it was so logistically, like, a lot, and I just remember sending in my video early and you being, like, still collecting them, and then, like, there were just so many moving parts, and there were
Yes,
so many speakers. You had so many
yes.
speakers, and I remember reconnecting with you and Stephanie to talk about, like, a follow-up survey, and you guys were like, "We're tapped out, like, we
Right.
don't even have like, we're done." And I'm like, "Oh, I
We're
could
done.
do this. I could help you." But yeah, I remember it was, like, a lot. Mhm.
But so when we're in that a lot time, sometimes we just need, like, something at the end, like a light at
Yeah.
the end of the tunnel. And for me, I was like, I'm gonna in that time, I was like, I'm gonna book that cruise and it's gonna be my reward for getting through
Oh,
this
so
time.
smart. I
Yes,
love
and then I
that.
told Stephanie, and Stephanie was like, "Oh, no, that sounds awesome, I wanna go too." And so we both had this, like,
That's what
joint
happened?
reward.
Oh,
But I saw other people going. That's the thing, and that it's the thing that I talk about a lot. I saw other people talk about the cruise and, like, some travel groups I'm in and do some
mhm,
things, and it always felt like, "That's so awesome for them, but that'll never
yeah.
happen for me."
Oh,
And, like, I
yeah.
hear people say that about career breaks, and I'm like, "You can't say that because like, if you" right? Like, you've gotta
Yes.
believe it'll happen for you or it'll never happen for you.
Mhm.
And so, it's very like, getting away from the idea that there's anything in this world that's inaccessible for each of us individually
Yes.
is like a constant practice. There's no point for me, there hasn't been a point where I'm like, everything is mine, right? Like I'm constantly
Yeah.
bumping up against something where I'm like, or I'll see the price of something, I'm like, oh yeah, no, not for me. I'm so sorry. And I think that we have to add like not for me yet, or not for me
Mhm.
because I want to do something else for my money. Like my mom, I think she's gotten out of this habit a little bit, but she's one of those people that used to always say like, "Oh, I can't afford it." And I would say
Yes.
like, "No, you can afford it. You're just choosing to
Choosing
do something
yeah.
else with your money, right? Like you're
Mhm.
choosing something else. You're prioritizing something else." And that it's hard, but it is the constant work that gets you towards your goals. Is saying like, "This is something I want. It's accessible to that person.
Mhm.
Today it doesn't feel accessible to me, but one day, right? Like one day
Yeah.
add it to your vision board One day
Mhm.
it'll be accessible to me. This week I added Lewis Hamilton to my vision board. One day it'll be
Girl, he's
accessible to
been
me.
on my vision board for a
Like,
while. He's been on my vision board for a while. I just
and
feel
the
like,
courage,
oh,
Katrina.
right. Oh,
I hate for us to have this conflict right now, but yeah, I was like, you know what? Yes, vision board. We're
uh-huh.
doing this.
Yeah.
Everything is accessible with, enough time and energy in the right direction. So that's that's a challenge. I know some women in our audience struggle with that as well, of telling themselves
Yeah.
it's okay for other people, but it won't happen for me.
Yeah.
And so how
And I think
when you face that, what do you tell yourself?
Well, number one is I think it's really important to be chasing the dreams that really speak to you. So I think
Mhm.
sometimes it can feel like that is a signifier that I've made it, or that is an aspirational thing that,
Mm.
someone else has it. And so
Mhm.
I should have it because then it means something about me that I could get it. And
Mhm.
I feel like I definitely try not to chase those dreams because when you
Mhm.
get there, they're empty or it
Right.
feels good for a second. And then you're like, why did I work so hard for this? Right.
Mhm.
So I think number one is like make sure it's something you want. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
why, it doesn't matter what it is, but make sure it's something that you really want. And for me, when I make sure that it's something I really want, then I say, okay, if I want this thing, I'm going to understand why I want this thing. So I write about this in the book, but I really believe, for me, having a purpose statement was essential for making a career break happen because I had at the time I decided I wanted one, I had 8 months in a second career after getting a very expensive MBA degree, right?
Mhm.
8 months. Like, I was basically like, I had no work experience in the second career. I had $1,500 in my bank account. I had tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt for my business school. And I had a townhouse I was renting out in Atlanta that had gone underwater because of the housing market crash. And essentially, I wasn't making any profit off of it. I was barely breaking even. So on paper, there was no reason this should have ever been a possibility for me. But I decided I wanted to do it. And then when I decided I wanted to do it, I got really clear on what it meant to me because you're
Mhm.
going to have to make sacrifices, trade offs, be resourceful, be creative, right? And so it's a lot easier to tap into that part of yourself if you are really clear on why you're doing it and what's really at stake. And I think, especially as women, we're good at doing this for other people, like thinking about what other people need or, doing it for others. But we have to do that for ourselves. And
Right.
so when I want to make it accessible, I get clear on why, I see what's at stake, I raise the bar, and then I just get really resourceful. And for me, a lot of taking my break revolved around saving money. So I had to
Mhm.
save $40,000 before I felt like I could take the break I wanted to take. And that took me about 18 months of saving. But I believe, right? Having big dreams is part of what makes us come alive. I think that having things to pursue and then reaching those goals, it's about also who you become in pursuit of
Mhm.
that goal. And it's really incredible. And I think the more you do it, the more you realize you have what it takes. You just have to dig a little deeper. So yeah, so it's resourcefulness. I mean, oh my God, I wrote a book. It has 100,000 words and I never wanted to be an author. I had to dig so deep so many times. I cried a lot. I wondered what the hell I was doing. I was like, are they going to sue me if I don't finish this book? Like, I don't know what's going to happen. It was really hard. But I think at every big challenge, I understand why I'm doing it. And on those dark days, right? Those really dark days, you go back to that purpose and you redecide, is it worth it? And then you just keep being resourceful and creative and taking one step at a time. I don't know. What would you say? Like, what is your formula for making really big things that feel at one point impossible happen?
For me, it's just like you said, deciding that I want it
Hmm.
and then step by step. I don't necessarily think that they're like the pursuit to me sometimes just I don't like to think of it as a pursuit. I think of it more as like I've shifted the direction I'm going in. I didn't know about the cruise. I found out about the cruise.
Yeah.
It kept popping up and popping up and popping up. And then I kept seeing the like I want it and feeling that I wanted it.
Yeah.
And then I just made a phone, you know what I mean? Like I made the phone call that
Nice. Yeah.
got the price quote that made me say, it's possible. Now, some of that is I was also saving along the way, right? Like I'm always saving money,
Hmm.
um, which I think it's gonna sound really corny, but, like, honestly, like, that's one of the ways to get to a lot of your goals, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
don't agree. Yeah, agree.
it just is. Um, Money helps, right?
Mm.
Um, but I feel like shifting the direction of your focus towards something and then letting time do the work sometimes. You know what I mean? Where like it's not an
Mm,
active pursuit, it's
yeah.
like an idea and like a desire, and then like
Mm,
kind of drifting in the direction of your desire, right? Like
yeah.
you took a career break in you said 18 months, right? After knowing you wanted it.
Yeah, it was a little less than 2 years. It took me 18 months to save the
Mhm.
$40,000. Mhm.
I took a career break a month after I knew I wanted it. After I knew like I'm going to do this one day. The one day happened to be like a month later,
Yeah.
but I knew I wanted it probably like 10 years before, or like I thought about
Mm,
it. Like it
yeah.
had materialized as an idea, as a desire 10 years
Mm,
earlier. So the desire method and letting your life just kind of cruise control
yeah.
may take you a little longer, but there's, you know what I mean? Like if you're not, but I think it's enough to get you there, right? The
Mhm.
active pursuit will get you there faster, but knowing that you want something and allowing yourself to want something. 'Cause a lot of times, especially as Black women, we don't allow ourselves to want the thing, right? We're told that, like, what we have is
Ooh,
enough. We should be
oh my
happy,
god.
all of these other
This.
things. And
Yeah.
then acknowledging that you want more or different than what you have can be frowned upon, right? And so acknowledging that you want something else, you want something different, you have this and you want that,
Yeah.
right? Just that by itself, I think is the first step.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Let's talk about it.
I have done 28 calls last month in April. I set a goal, like I just decided, yeah, I know. I decided I wanted to talk to people who wanted to take a break or were
Mhm,
struggling with the decision. And so I wanted to get reconnected to how that problem looks today and what it feels like today. Because how it looked and felt, 10 years ago when I did it is different than when I started coaching,
mhm,
7 years ago. And m- a lot of people I talked to were women of color, fair number of Black women, but also, other ethnicities, but a lot of women of color. And what I heard almost every woman of color say is, it's such a privilege to be able to do this. I don't actually know if I should. And
mhm,
so it was the idea that because of either where they came from, what they saw modeled, or what was possible for other people that they saw that reflected them, whether, in their family or just like in their community, whatever, they would say, I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed to have the means to be able to do
mhm,
this, but it feels like I'm asking for too much. It feels like taking this time off is such a decadent privilege that it would almost be irresponsible. Like, why would I get to do this if
mhm,
other people that I've seen that deserve this time off,
mhm,
more than me couldn't do it? And it feels like almost like it would feel a bit of shame or something to really like take care of themselves in that way. And it was just really grounding for me to remember and to know that like that's an extra layer, right? And creating that possibility is reframing what it means to think of it as a privilege. Like
mhm,
it you don't have to earn the right to rest, and the fact that you have the means to do it means that you should take it. And then once
mhm,
you take it, you take care of yourself, you inspire other people to take better care of themselves, and you have more to give the people that you want to give and the way that
mhm.
you want to give it down the road. But it was like such a great reminder for me of that extra layer of challenge and all the ways people like are challenged to take a break. It's like, oh,
Right.
that's an extra one for
That's an
certain
extra one.
certain group of people. Yeah.
Um, and the other side of that is that because taking a break within the American culture is so revolutionary,
Hmm.
um, not everyone is on board yet. And so many
Oh yeah.
people that you come in contact with will, I got one or two things like, one, is she losing her mind? Or two, like,
Yeah.
must be nice, right? That like
Yeah.
passive aggressive, oh,
Hmm.
lucky you,
Yeah.
you know, um, now there were some people who were truly happy for me, but it was really the minority, right?
Mhm.
And so having moments where the people who you think are in your corner don't know how to be in your corner, right? It's not like they're not in your corner, but they just don't know how. Like, what do you mean you're leaving your good government job, right? And like taking a
Mhm.
break. That sounds like unemployment, and no one signs up for unemployment, right? What do you mean you're going to go travel around the world? It's scary out there, and America is so safe.
Uh-huh.
We're saying that less now, but like 10 years ago, that was still what people were saying.
Yeah.
To be in this space where your dreams are unrecognizable to so many people,
Mhm.
right? And so now you have to do not just the inner work to get yourself ready, but there are a lot of people that I was like, I don't really care what you say. Okay, thanks, bye. But there were some people
Yeah.
where I was like, okay, like I'm gonna have to make sure like my mom, not that she's on board, but like that she's not freaking out. Like my same thing with my dad. And they were both surprised. They're both Caribbean people. So I was surprised that they were both like, "Okay, go have fun," right? I
Yeah.
definitely expected my dad to be like, "It's it's scary out there," right? And my mom to be like, "But you have it. But like, what about work?" And neither
Yeah.
one of them did that. And I think one of the things I say as well is that if you need a break, the people in your life probably already know you need a break. Like they're probably looking at you like,
That's
"She's not doing so well," right? Like
yeah. Yeah.
I
Like
think my
mhm.
family knew that I was like, "This job might kill me." Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think going back to for me having this purpose statement, like really understanding for me
Mhm.
what was at stake if I didn't take a break was really helpful to get people on board with less effort. So for me, what that looked like was being able to clearly articulate what I was moving towards, right?
Mhm.
So if somebody is like, "Why are you doing this?" and they have that skepticism to begin with because they're like, "What is this thing about?" For me to be able to say, I realize that my life is no longer on the path that feels good to me. And I feel like I have a
Mm.
lot to give, but I'm not finding a way to give it in a way that makes me feel good. And I want to take a step back and rethink some choices and just have some fun for a change because I've been grinding it out for so long. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I still don't understand what you're doing, but now I understand a little bit more about why it feels valuable to you. And I also think that sounds kind of cool. Tell me more about that. Right. And so, there will be people that will totally be a naysayer, not get it. And I think because it is so revolutionary and unconventional, there's an open space with a lot of people where if you come in with your energy and your purpose statement and like being able to articulate like what it is you're doing, even if it's just at a very high level, there's this space for them to be like, oh, because they don't know, because it
Mhm.
is unfamiliar, and to be like, oh, okay. And I've had a lot of people who've given their notice and had their manager say to them, I wish I could do something like that.
Mhm.
Right? Like they weren't like, you're a loser. It's like,
Yeah.
I wish I could do something like that. That's kind of awesome. So yeah, so I feel like also being able to really speak to what it's about for you is helpful if you
Mhm.
feel like you're going to face naysayers, because you're giving them something to anchor to, right?
Yes. That's really great advice. And I love the idea of like the purpose statement and really being like anchored in what this means to
Hmm.
you. Let's talk about your break. Let's talk about
Oh yeah.
what led you to take a break and then what your
Mm,
break was like. So take
yeah.
it away.
Okay, take it away. So high achiever, firstborn, crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, achieving. Went to a great undergrad, hated it, really hated it, and graduated with a math degree, became an actuary, was not like obsessed with math. Basically, I was just following some weird rule book that didn't really exist that I thought I needed to follow because I came from a family that didn't have a lot and I wanted to make money. Like I wanted to have opportunity. I wanted to take vacations. We never traveled abroad. I didn't fly on a plane until I was a senior in high school. I hadn't seen the beach, until I was like 17 or 18. And so for me, it was about unlocking a door of opportunity. So I leaned in really hard and I did a great job at corporate, right? At moving up and bopping around to different companies, got my MBA. And I realized in that second career, sitting in my General Mills cubicle, that I was more unhappy than I had been before I got my degree.
Mm.
And I also felt like I was trapped in the most corporate environment. And to General Mills' credit, I'll say there were good things about it, but it's the Midwest has its own flavor. So you have like corporate culture plus Midwest Minnesotan culture on top of it, and it's so foreign to me, right? Like something as simple as the word that's interesting, that's bad. Like if someone sees what you've done and they're like, that's interesting, that means it's a polite way of saying that is not cool. It's kind of messed up, and I'm judging you so hard for that, right? And so learning and adapting, I was just like, I have better things to do with my time than navigate this ridiculous culture. It was like,
Yeah.
oh God, like, is this going to be the rest of my life? And it was just that clarity where I felt this awareness that if I don't make a change now, and I was in my early 30s, this is going to be my whole life. It's never going to be easier to leave than it is today. It's only going to get harder every single day I stay. And so I got a life coach and started working on trying to find a third career because I was still responsible. I was like, I got to find a job. I got to make
Hmm.
money. And I was like, please just help me find my passion so I can have a job and just be happy. And 6 months into working with her, I was sitting on the couch, and this voice inside of my head one day just interrupted whatever we were talking about. And it was like, you don't want another job, you want a break. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I was like, I told my life coach, I was like, Anne, I think I want to take a break. And I didn't even know what to really call it
Hmm.
at that time. And she was like, well, I guess we have to make a new plan. And that's what I did. I made a plan. I started working on it. I started saving money, right? Like to your point with the desire. Once I spoke that truth like out loud to her, I felt it. I felt light. I felt like I was floating, and I just felt so expansive. Like, could the world be so amazing and big enough to hold a dream like me quitting my job to travel around the world? And the answer was yes. And
Hmm.
so I started saving money, and I saved 40K in 18 months. I traveled, which we can talk more about, but I traveled a lot, but I also spent time with family at home. Something I talk about with a purpose statement is that life is going to still be lifing while you're on a break. And if you take a long break, life is definitely going to life on you. And I've been saving, planning for almost 2 years. And a week before I was about to leave my job. I gave them 8 months' notice, but a week before I was actually going to leave, my younger brother passed away, and he was my favorite person, right? So now I'm standing at the most amazing adult moment of my life. I've worked hard, I've saved all this money, simultaneously holding space for the worst moment of my life. And that was real and that was hard. And to your point about people not approving, something I've talked about before, it was hard for my mom, especially because she felt like this is amazing. Like the worst moment of her life, right, has
Hmm.
happened, but her other daughter, her other kid is not employed anymore, has money saved up, has already planned to quit her job. She can come home and they can grieve together, right? That's the clear, obvious dot, dot, dot
Hmm.
plan. And I thought about it, but Rashida, I was like bordering on the edge of a really serious depression. And I knew I didn't have enough space to hold the grief for two people. And if
Hmm.
I came back to the place I grew up and I tried to hold space for all of our grief collectively, it was going to pull me to a dark place I didn't know I would ever get out of. And it felt really selfish. I felt like a bad kid. I felt like I was betraying my mom. Like it was really hard. But ultimately, the choice was me or everyone else. And I chose me. And I really tried to lean into the belief that if I choose me now, I can give back to people later because I really needed this break. But I credit being clear on my purpose statement with helping me make that decision so that I felt clear about why I was doing it and what I was giving up and what I was going to gain. Because it was a really big sacrifice and a very big risk. And ultimately, it took my mom a few months to like recover from that, but she did. And then I was able to spend time at home with her. And I mean, we're great now. Like clearly I'm home with her. Like my mom's my person. Like I love her. But it was just a really hard time for us. And so I would say my break was still life changing. It was still amazing. And I cried every day, right? Like being
Hmm.
in the car, radio song, whatever. Like it was just all the feelings and all the things. And eventually, like the crying eased and it wasn't like every day towards the end of my break, but it was hard. It was really hard, but it was still so amazing and beautiful and confirming that we only have one life and nothing is guaranteed and time is not a gift to be wasted. And it felt like in some way I was so proud that I didn't wait for his death to start living my life, that
Mhm.
I was living my life. And because I was living my life, I had all of these gifts waiting for me when I didn't know what to do and I was standing at the worst moment of my life. It was like, well, I have money, I have a plan, I've already given my notice. I don't have to go back to this soul-sucking job and pretend anymore. I don't have to take my 3 days of grievance or bereavement and like come back and pretend I've healed from like a tragic loss. Instead, I just get to go be free and find what that means to me today. And I credit my break with saving my life for that reason.
That's amazing, Katrina. Sorry for your loss, but the way you speak about it, I know is going to really inspire some people because there's so many times where we know we're on the edge. We know we don't have the space, the capacity for ourselves, much
Hmm.
less other people. And taking a break could save your life, right?
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally good. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So it's life saving. And, I'm not the only one that's experienced that. I definitely have
Mhm.
clients who feel like it has saved their life in different ways, right? Maybe it wasn't facing extreme grief or loss, but it was like, holy crap, was I doubling down on the wrong path? And I don't think I'd ever have the time, space, or courage to hop to this other path. And now they're on this other path and thriving. But it really saved my life. And so at that moment, right, it was like, okay, this is really transformative for me personally. But then the question is, what am I going to come back to? Right. So I love traveling so much. I decided to keep doing it until I ran out of money. So my 12-month break became a 20-month break because I just was like, well, if I have the money, I'm still going to keep going. Like no one
Uh-huh.
can hold me down. And so, at the end of the game, I was like, damn, I wish I had more money and I don't have more money. I got to go get a job. And when I sat with, what am I going to do? I realized I wanted to become debt free, pay off all those student loans as fast as I could so that I could do entrepreneurship or anything I wanted, move abroad, just feel like I had more financial freedom than I had with this like looming debt. And when I came back, I updated my resume after going through like a reflection period to re enter and some exploration of what I wanted to do. And I landed 5 job offers in 5 weeks. One of them was a dream job. One of them was a 30% raise with a promotion. One of them was a career change. I got an offer to become a Delta flight attendant, and I had like the enrollment thing to
Uh-huh.
like go to the training in Atlanta, like where you start doing the thing. And I was like, part of me was like, should I just should I just go be a flight attendant? That would be kind of cool. I did not decide to do that, but I had like 5 amazing offers that were all very different and very exciting for different reasons. And it was in that moment I thought to myself, oh my God, this didn't just change my personal life, this changed my professional life as
Mhm.
well. And that was the moment where I was like, I need to find a way. I want to find a way to give this to other people. And it took me 2 more years, right, to pay off my debt. And then I got certified as a life coach so that I could really be the best coach that I could be. And like, I really wanted to understand more about how to help people on a deeper level. But then I started coaching people. And, I've been doing that for 7 years, but it was the seeds were planted for me to do it professionally when I came back to those 5 offers because everybody told me, like, what is the job market going to be like when your break is over? How is it going to
Mhm.
be? Is anyone going to want you? I only had 3 years of experience in my second career at that point. Like, it wasn't like I had an extensive amount of experience to pull from. And I had a lot of fear, but I didn't let that hold me back from taking the break. I thought I'd figure it out. And ultimately, I was like, oh my God, I took the dream job, which was it was like a lateral move. It was just way more exciting. And I got to move to Boulder, Denver area to do it. But I remember thinking I could get a 30% raise and a promotion after having taken a 20-month break
Mhm.
to just travel around the world. And I was like,
Mhm.
people need to be hip to this game. Like, I
Yeah.
need to be helping more people find their free. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You touch on so many different points that I think people are sort of roadblocks for people along the way. And one of the ones I don't want to walk away from this too soon is that in the group coaching I do, it comes up so frequently, and I have to remind people that it's normal. And I don't want to trivialize what you went through, but before you go, something's going to come up that's going to tell you you can't leave,
Yeah.
right? Like
Hmm.
there's always, and like yours is like the worst possible scenario,
Mine's like the worst. Yeah, the worst of the worst. Yeah. I'm gonna take your happiness. Yeah, it's
right?
it's pretty bad. Yeah.
For me, I was getting a hole punched in my neck because my doctor decided I need a biopsy because I thought I had thyroid cancer. Like the week
Oh
before
my
my health insurance
goodness.
went away, or like I was on. way before I started Cobra, which, you know, if you ever had
Oh,
Cobra, you
yeah,
know,
Cobra.
yeah,
Whew,
Cobra and cancer don't
big
really go
bucks.
together.
Yeah.
Like,
Big
sorry,
bucks on Cobra, yeah.
right? And it was just that, and so it happens to my clients all the time. This thing happened, and now I feel like
Yeah.
I can't go, and I'm like, no, but those things always happen,
Mhm.
right? They
Mhm.
always happen. My my dad had been sick. I want to say for somewhere over 10 years, over a decade, he had been like on the verge. Like you never know when you're gonna get that
Really?
call. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 months after
Wow.
I left. You no.
Stop it.
No, no, no. I was still in it was 1 month. It was 1 month after I left because I was still in Mexico. You couldn't wait? You couldn't wait. You
Stop. Oh my gosh.
you couldn't hello, sir. Like, because what I told myself about my break was that, like, I will and this is a mistake I made and I don't want the people watching to make,
Mhm.
is I set up a parameter and I said, if this thing happens, I will have had a successful break. And I think it's very important that you recognize that you're gonna have to pivot and
Yeah.
your break can still be successful if the worst thing that happens happens. My worst, I didn't want to come back to the US. I will have a successful break if I don't come back to the US for
Yeah.
a year. A month later,
Girl. Oh, I'm
really?
sorry.
Really? Like you had 10 years to do this.
Yeah, 10 years. 10
What are you
years
doing
to do
now?
this. Oh my god.
Um, and so, that idea that like if I run out of money, like that was Stephanie's. The worst thing that happened to
Mm.
her was she ran out of money and she ran out of money, but she went home, went home
Yeah.
broke, right? Like you traveled, still you ran out of money. What was the worst thing that could have happened on your break after you started? What do
Yeah,
you think?
after I started, the worst thing is that I would've that actually happened. I would have run out of
Ouch.
money and
Uh-huh.
then not had a huge epiphany about a new career path that I could do, and I would
Uh-huh.
decide that I had to go back to corporate. That was like my worst case scenario. Like, I want to find something else. Please
Uh-huh.
God, don't make me go back to corporate. And then I spent all my money and I was like, I have a lot of debt and I don't know how to pay it off if I don't go back to corporate. And then I was applying for corporate jobs. I cried a lot when I was applying for them and when I was updating my resume. I was like, I hate my life.
But you went back to a corporate job
I
and
did. I did.
and it was
I
awesome?
was yeah, and I got a dream job. I mean, it was still corporate, but I had a whole lot of fun. I fulfilled a goal. It was crazy, Rashida. I had this moment when I started at General Mills. So I am a Whole Foods co-op shopper. I love like
Mhm.
organic natural products. I've been obsessed with them since I was in my 20s. And because I'm that consumer, I really wanted to work on those products, but General Mills does not have, I mean, at the time they had basically none of those products. And I remember there was this gigantic expo. It was like 65,000 people. It happened once a year in Anaheim and it was called Expo West. And all of the brands that you would ever see in like a Whole Foods, all of them and more would come to this expo and have booths and they would talk about it. And it was like this natural product exposition. And I remember asking my manager like 6 months in, I heard about this thing, can I go? Like, would you guys send me if I like talked about trends or like come back as like, resource? And she laughed at me. I mean, I love my manager, but she like laughed. She was like, girl, they send two people to that at the top. You're never going to get to go. Like, let that dream die. And I was like, okay. 4 years later, that dream job was working for that freaking company, getting paid to go to that expo to discern trends and then come to
Oh,
companies like General Mills, which I did as this my new company got hired to go to General Mills and talk about trends in the food
oh,
industry, right? So even though it was corporate and it was like
yeah.
living my nightmare, my worst case scenario, it wasn't that bad. And I think that's your point, right? Like we survive even if
Mhm,
the worst thing that we imagine happens. Life is always dealing us crap. Like
mhm,
we're always dealing with things
mhm.
happening that we didn't want to happen and I don't regret my break. And my break was still fantastic, right?
And the worst thing that can happen on your break probably isn't that bad after all,
Yes. Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It's probably not that terrible.
Mhm. Yep.
It's survivable. For me, and when I was working, I am very sure my job would have killed me. But like in the sense that
Yeah.
like I was the physical sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I remained in that job, if the company didn't go out of business, I probably would not have left. Um, and I it took a toll on me all the time.
Yeah.
Um, It was very chaotic. It was like I went through like 3 managers in a 18 months.
Wow.
And like my position of like just swiping through new managers because no one could do the job.
Yeah.
And they were all different versions of terrible. And so it was a lot of uncertainty every day. Like, okay, now I have to tell my boss that she needs to do my review and she needs to do the whole team's review because we don't get bonuses if we don't get reviews. Oh, she has given us all 3s out of 5s on everything, every category,
Oh
every single
my
employee on the team.
God.
Oh,
What?
this is amazing. Like that kind of
Whew.
like not just like it doesn't sound that bad, but like every day having to be like, okay, boss, I have to manage up. I have to do my job,
Oh,
and I have to remind you about how to do your job as well,
yeah. Oh my God.
all the time. Um, and it was a lot. And not getting paid,
Mm-hmm.
you're not getting paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Oh my
is this?
God. That would be so, yeah,
It
stressful.
like literally, I had to ask them to move someone underneath me. Like, hi, what if I manage this person as well? Because I knew they had more longevity in the company than I did, and they wouldn't be successful working under her. It's like, what if we just moved him under me? Right. And that way, like, I could give him his reviews and I could do the things that she wasn't. So now I have someone to manage and no more money because I can't trust you. Like,
Oh
okay,
my
amazing. But the stress of it all, right, was
God. Mm-hmm.
the stress of it, besides the managing up part, working with terrible people who don't listen,
Yeah.
um, was I'm one of those people who internalize stress, right? And so it just kind of eats at my body. And I was stressed every single day.
Yeah.
It would have it would have killed me. Leaving, almost all my friends were like, so I worked in an industry where that I worked in auto finance. So, laws change and you have to be up to date. And everyone was like, but what happens when you want to come back? And I was like, like very much, I point like my ship is pointed in a direction. Everything else will work itself out. I don't.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll figure it out. And they were like, but you could open your own law firm. You could do this. You could do this. Here's Facebook is hiring. My friend who is like sitting right behind Mark Zuckerberg in like the Senate hearings, whatever he's doing, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see you on camera. I see like, I'm hiring on my team. Do you want? And I'm like, no, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out, right? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do. And that is so scary for other people who don't have the vision you have, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
fear was not having a job. You came back and things were even better than you thought. I never thought I'd be living the life I live now, right? I'm on a 72-day trip. There's absolutely no way I would have done that working in corporate. Or like I would be working corporate this, hours working this,
Yeah.
I'd be working West Coast California hours, which would really, really suck in Dublin, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would, yeah.
And it's things when you take yourself out of the box, you give yourself opportunities for things to get better than imagined, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's scary, but like there's so much possibility out there in the world that you don't know about, right?
Yeah. That,
Like,
yes.
you wrote a book and you had
What?
no
I know.
I love it.
I
Okay.
know. I
So,
know.
I don't remember I think you called me and you were like, "I need to talk to you." And she told me she's writing a
Yeah.
book. You were so scared. You were so
I was so scared. I'm glad you remember that. I'm glad yeah, you can speak to that because I was terrified. Oh my
She was
God.
like, "They want me to write a book, but I don't know anything about writing it. I don't know what
Writing
to
a
do."
book. I don't know
But
anything
every
about
time
writing
I
a book.
checked in on her over the time, she was like or I'd see her posting on the internet, it was always like on her Instagram, follow her on Instagram. It's in the description. It was always like, "I have so much more pages to write.
Girl.
I have so many more pages to write." And
I
I'd
know.
be like,
It's
"Yep,
over freaking whelming. So
uh-huh,
they found me, right? And asked me to write the book. And it's a great brand. And honestly, if I was ever going to write a book, it would be this kind of book. Like the kind of book I would want to write about career breaks would be more of a reference book where
Mhm.
I'm walking you through the steps that I teach my clients and I'm breaking things down. Like it wouldn't be a memoir, right? And it wouldn't be just stories. It would be like really practical stuff that you could refer to. And so it was like, how do I say no to this? It's an
Mhm.
amazing brand, right? But also, it's the kind of book I would want to write, like literally the best brand for the kind of book I would want to write. And so I like asked a lot of questions and stuff. But when I said yes, then it just felt impossible every
Mhm.
single day until like the last month. I swear to you, it felt impossible every single day. I would wake up and be like, I just don't know how. And there would be lots of tears. And I remember when I turned in my first chapter for feedback, it took me an extra day to do it because I was like perfectionist mode and I wanted to like review it another time. And I remember sending it in and writing the writing coach. So they give you a Dummies writing coach for your
Mm.
first chapter. So you can learn the conventions and the formatting and all the things. And I remember sending it in to her and writing to her an email as I was sending it in saying like, has anybody ever backed out of a book deal like after writing the first chapter because they realize it's more? Just asking for a friend. And she wrote me back and I think I kind of freaked her out because, you know, she doesn't know me. She doesn't know that
Yeah.
like I will rise to every occasion, even if I have to dig super deep to do it. And so she wrote me back right away and she was like, if you're concerned about doing this, it's a really big deal if we start a deal with you and you can't do it. So you need to talk to the editor like ASAP and connect with her. And then my editor was CC'd on that. And then she came back and she was like, Katrina, we think you can do it. Like, do you want to have a call? Like, we'll talk about it, whatever. But I was like, did I just lose my book deal too? Like, I was a mess. I was a hot mess, a
Mhm.
hot mess. But I did it. It was 9 grueling months, but I did it. And to your point, I was terrified. And I think what was really cool about that is it reminded me of the challenge my clients are facing when it comes to taking a break, because now that's no thing for me to even imagine. But it's like, oh, but this is me facing a new challenge and walking my
Mhm.
talk in a different way so that I can be regrounded in what it's like to face those fears and do things that feel impossible. But yeah, it was hard. It's hard. And I was always writing. It's like pulling the stuff out of thin air. Oh my God, it's
Mhm.
terrifying. Terrifying.
But no, this is not to say you should not be an author if this is in your, like, in your bones. If this is
Oh,
your
if it's in your
dream.
bones, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my
Trina is
God.
a best-selling author now, and she could not have said that. Like, it's not something you could have even imagined for yourself, right?
No, you're right. You're right. In my wildest dreams, that wasn't something. I mean, there's so many parts to writing a book, and I thought the
Mhm.
only way I could ever write a book, if I ever was going to, is it would be self-published, and then you have to hire, you know, the cover art, the editors, and things like. And I was like, that was not. So in my wildest dreams, I was never writing a book about career breaks for a big like publisher. Like what? That didn't. I didn't even know that was a thing that could ever have happened.
Okay, so maybe in your questioning you figured this out, but do you know why they were interested in public, like, is there
Yeah, I
increased
asked.
interest? Okay, yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, of course." I was I was like, "Why are we doing this and why me?" Yes. So they pick topics
Mhm.
every year. So they release several new titles every year, and then they do revisions on really best-selling other titles that kind of, you know, are 4 or 5 plus years old. So she told me that this was her baby, right? So they have a couple acquisition editors that get to source different materials to figure out what titles they want to pitch. So the process goes like this. She does research and she was noticing in Reddit threads and just in general, there was a lot more discussion about people wanting to quit their job,
Mhm.
but being burnt out and wanting to take a break and wanting to travel and wanting to do these things. And so she was hearing all of these discussions. And this was like 2022, November, when she reached out to me. So I think this was happening over the course of 2022 for her. And so this was on her radar. And she was like, I really think this would be a great topic, but I know nothing about it. And I don't know if it's even meaty enough to make a For Dummies book because those are pretty meaty books. So then she starts looking for like who could write this book if this could be a book. And she said that she found an article I had written which was shared on Thrive Global and somewhere else, but she found that through I think Google. And then she went to my website and she felt like the tone was very uplifting and
Mm.
friendly and inspiring on my website, which is the tone they want you to write those books with so that they're very encouraging. And then I have a blog. It's outdated, but she saw my blog and got a better sense of my writing and felt like the tone was good. And then as she was you know, researching me, I was featured in a Forbes article. Like I had a Forbes article when I in 2017 when I first came out that was talking about paying off my loans, taking a break. And so that built some credibility in her mind as well. So it was like all these data points came together to say she has the right tone. I think she could write it. And also, she has some credibility markers. So let me see what she could do. And then the next step was, after she reached out to me, was writing an outline or a table of contents to show her that it was meaty enough to be a book, because that was the thing. She was like, I would love to do this, but I'm not sure that it actually has enough content to be a book. And I'm like, oh, hold this, I got you. I will show you. Yeah, like, I'll show you. And so then I did the table of contents for her, and she was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then the last step is that they come to a meeting as a group, and each acquisitions editor proposes titles, and then they vote. And it has to
Mm.
be, yeah, and it has to be like a unanimous vote where everybody decides that's a good title. So she had a book proposal that she had written. She asked me for some like helpful pieces, but she actually wrote it to pitch it to the team. So then she has my table of contents, she has the proposal, and she goes to the meeting and she pitches the idea, right, for that week or whatever. And she wrote me back and was like, we got a green light. It's a go.
Yay. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Hmm.
Um, what was the no. Okay, Katrina does not know this. None of you guys know this, but she's going to be on my other channel soon to talk about something. And so I'm going to save that question for that. There's like a whole video series that is 3 months delayed.
Oh,
It's really
I'm
hard.
like,
Okay, so for people who don't know, it's really hard to work when you're trying to have fun. Like,
yeah.
it's very, very hard to get stuff done when like the sun is
Uh-huh.
shining outside and I want to be out there
Yeah.
doing
Go
stuff,
play. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I went to Trinity College today. I went to the library in the long room and saw the Book of Kells,
Oh,
and it was so amazing.
yeah.
Or I could be like editing video,
Uh-huh. Hmm.
which is always why when people ask, I'm always like, if your choice is a career break or working and traveling, take a break, at least for some time.
Right. Oh my gosh, same. Yeah, so many people are like, I'll be a digital nomad. It'll be fine. I'm like, that's not the same thing.
No, and I think I always want to caution people that being a digital nomad is much harder and much less fun than it sounds, right? Like there's a chance you're working crappy hours, right? If you're in a different time zone.
Yep.
And like you may work from the beach, but you also may be
Oh my God.
working under the fluorescent
What?
lights in your
Yeah.
Airbnb,
Who? What?
right?
Please. My laptop was so old, it had to be plugged in for me to do anything because it didn't even recognize the battery. So like the last 3 years of my like nomad life, like I was always by an outlet. I was never at a beach. I couldn't even be like at the cabana. I was like, where's the charging to plug?
Okay.
It was not sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
it's much less digital nomading is much less sexy than I think people want it to be.
And how people try to portray it. I think some people try to glamorize it clearly for followers, and
Mhm.
they make it seem really sexy, and that's not real. It's not,
Yeah,
it's kind of like a Wizard of Oz moment.
it is. I really hate that. Like either
Mhm.
and everybody's story is different. So right. So maybe you can work from the beach because you only have like 2 things you gotta do a day. I have
Yeah.
been in corporate meetings before we had, the Zoom backgrounds, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been in corporate meetings where like the entire meeting stops to say like, "Rashida, where are you?" And it was like, "I'm on a work trip, but like I am visiting our other office. The office just happens to be like on the beach." Like that's not my but like, you know what I mean? Like people aren't
Yeah.
happy for you when they see you
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
generally from
Yes.
like remote places. And so I feel like there's a lot of work that goes into working in remote places. That we don't generally talk about. Digital
Yeah.
nomading is not easy. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Like I have so much work to do, and the only time I've really done work here was when I was in Amsterdam because it was disgusting outside. And so I made the decision like I'm just going to make this a work week. I'm just going to work
Yeah.
'cause I don't want to go
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
But in every city since the weather's been better, and so I've been
And
like,
you're just
and I'm
like,
not. But I told myself that like if I work this week, I'll have less work to do these other
yeah.
weeks, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so it's that balance. But if you have to work every day, you don't get the balance, right?
Yeah.
Like you may be working like, is it better than being in the office? Probably.
Yes,
It's
probably.
probably better from being in the office, but it's
Yeah.
significantly less sexy than
Yeah,
like
it is. I try to take
mm,
breaks. That's like my reward is if I
okay.
know there's a place I want to eat, I'll be
Mhm,
like, okay, I'll have a 2 hour lunch, right? And I'll go to
mhm,
like the taco truck and like make it a whole thing where I walk there and I eat
mhm.
it and I'm in the sun, or I'll finish at 4 and I'll know what I want to go do. So it's like I try to like at least maybe 2 or 3 times a week when I'm really truly digital nomading, especially abroad. I will try to like make those things happen, but it's not when I'm working, it's not like I mean, it's a lot of in an office, in a space, right? Hunched
Yes,
over at a desk
yes.
working for me because I also like my laptop. I tend to struggle to do certain things on my phone.
Mhm.
Um
Oh, yeah, I can.
I'm just like an old person that way. And so I couldn't even really do it on my phone. So I'm like at the kitchen table like doing
Yes,
some stuff, you know?
yeah, and it's like you said at the start of this video, figuring out how to get the tech to work, how to get the
Look
lighting and
look at this
every
lighting. What is this? It is 11 in the morning. It is noon now. It is sunny outside and glorious. And I'm in a room that is painted white. And I have no freaking clue why it looks like I'm in a closet in the middle of the night. And like, but here we are. Here we
here we
are.
are,
So I'm just
here we
working
are.
with it. Yeah.
It's always a challenge, but, um, let's get back to career breaks. You wrote a
Yes.
book.
I wrote a
What do
book.
you think is I wanna talk about the book a little bit more, but before we get there, what do you think is the best one piece of advice in the book?
That's a
I
brutal
know,
question.
I
Let me
know,
just,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I'm going to hold the book. I'm going to like channel it. Give me a
Yeah.
second. I'm going to
No,
channel
no,
it.
you gotta hold it up. Hold it up while you channel it.
Okay. I'm
Yes,
channeling.
now channel that.
Channeling. Okay.
Yes. By the way, I love that they put a black woman on the cover.
Girl, I asked for that. They gave me some like old white dude and like there were a couple variations, but one of them was like an old white dude who looked like he was meditating and I was like, "So I'm gonna need a woman of color on the book." But my editor was amazing and she was like, "Got you." And she was like, "How about this?" And so we did this one and I have people ask me, "Is that you on the cover?" And I'm like, "No, that's not me. We
It's
don't
not
even."
me.
But it's cool, but whatever. But anyway, yes, that was very intentional. So
Okay.
okay. So I'm gonna say the single best piece of advice is you get to give yourself permission to take this break, and it starts with you. Because all this other stuff, right? You can take any kind of break. You could take a
Mhm.
break where you stay at home. You could take a break where you go to one location and you just move there. You could take a break that lasts 3 months, 2 weeks, whatever. I want you to understand that it is so beneficial to you personally, professionally, for the longevity of your life, however long that is. I think in this book, it's really essentially a permission slip. That's all this book
Okay.
is one gigantic permission slip for you to take a break and to believe that you deserve the ability to like make it happen. And when I was thinking about this book, every single chapter and every single subsection is written to overcome any barrier, any unanswered question, any obstacle that you face, so that there's no excuses left when you get to the end of like why you couldn't take a break, right? So I think at the end of the day, the biggest message of this book, the biggest lesson is that you can do it. You just have to give yourself permission. That starts with permission. And this is a permission slip, right?
Good. That's amazing. It's
Yeah.
funny in that when I describe my coaching, that's the thing that I say that like most people come for. It's what people come for
Right?
is the permission. And
Yes.
like not to be dismissive of all the work I do, but it's super amazing, or all the work that Katrina does, right?
Yeah.
But
No, but
like
it's true.
it's true. A lot of people just need someone to not just to say that it's okay, but to like show them that
Show
it's
them.
okay.
That's the thing. Yeah, show them how it's okay, right?
Yeah.
And hold their hand too. I
Hmm.
think that's something that coaching does is I'll say the most inspiring things. One of my clients and I joke about this. It's like I'm a vaccine, but like she has to get these inoculations over time to build up her immunity.
Mm.
So I can say the most amazing thing as she's getting ready to give her notice. And she'll be like coming off the high of our call and be like, "Yeah, I'm ready to do this." And then like 2 days later, her brain's like, "But what about and what about and did you?" And then she's like on Marco Polo, like, "Katrina, I need another inoculation," right? And it's just these doses that accumulate over time. But to your point, it's about showing them how it's possible and showing
Mhm.
them how they can give themselves permission so that their brain can allow them to make that decision. But you're so right. It really does come down to permission.
Yeah. I think most people have like the other stuff covered. Like the money may not be there today, but they can figure out a plan for the money. The
Yeah.
locations where they're going, they can figure that out. But it's like,
Yep.
I need to be with people who can tell me that this is okay.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
okay, back to the book.
Okay.
Who is the book perfect for?
Mm. The book is perfect for someone who wants to take a break,
Mhm,
but feels like there are unanswered questions about what
mhm,
that's going to look like.
okay,
And they're really desperately dying for a transformation through that experience, right? So this book is robust. So it goes beyond just the planning stuff. It's a lot of mindset and life coaching things that I use with my clients because the kind of break I want to give people, not everyone needs it, not everyone wants it, but the kind of break I like giving people are the kind where the pre break version of them would not recognize the
mm,
post break version of them,
mhm,
right? Where they've had some type of
amazing.
transformation that their life has hit a different trajectory at a different level. And they're like, this has changed my life for the better. And that's who this book is for. Like, if you were like, I want to take a break, I want to plan it, I feel like I have unanswered questions, I want to get excited about it, but I need someone to help me create a structure for it so I can be successful, but so that it can also be transformational. That is who the book is perfect for.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Thanks.
All right. So, taking a career break for dummies,
Yes,
but not for dummies. Like,
but not for Dominic.
but not for dummies.
Yeah, yeah.
Bestselling author Katrina McGhee. Yay.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Let's talk about your coaching program. What
Okay.
what does that look like? Talk us through it.
Mm. Yeah. So Oh, I love Burnout to Bliss, and I sometimes wish that I could just be like a fly on the wall because I'm like, oh my God, like I want to like experience your coaching just to know because I'm like, oh, she must be the most inspiring coach. But anyway, I digress. I do one-on-one. So I
Mhm,
think group is amazing, but I find that my like special sauce and where I like really make the biggest impact is one-on-one. So I invite my clients into either a one-on-one coaching intensive. So the people that
mhm.
are like, girl, just give me a plan. Just help me feel confident. Help me know what
Mm,
to say when I give my notice. Help me build a structure, right? We build a break blueprint through that one 60-minute session. We'll map it all out, get your purpose statement, your four
mhm,
themes, everything's good to go. So I work in that way for people that are like more tactical, like I just want to plan and I'll figure out the rest. But for the people that are like, I need a transformation and I need someone to hold my hand and I want to create the change within me so that it's not, so the break is like this powerful catalyst, but it's really
mhm,
about who you're becoming, not about the break itself. So then in that case, we work together in 3 or 6 month increments where I'm
mhm,
doing one-on-one coaching and I'm also showing up on the Marco Polo app, which is like a video voicemail version of a Voxer, to help them when they feel stuck or if they have questions in between our sessions. So they kind of continue building momentum. And yeah, it's just really special to me because I feel like I go on the journey with them. I get to ride shotgun to so many career breaks. It's kind of crazy.
mhm.
And I have like such a fondness for my people and they ride so hard for me when they finish. Like my book, I swear, I think half of my book sales are probably my clients like giving the books or making other people buy the books, but like they're just so in my corner. And I think it's because I really love showing up in that container for them and being like, whatever you need, I have got you. Like sometimes I'm talking about people's marriages, right? Like whatever stuff they bring up, because I am a life coach, we're just dealing with it because it's all a part of your break. Real life is a part of your break. So I think that's what's special about the coaching I do is that like we'll go on the journey and it's all about your life with the break being the catalyst for a better life, but not necessarily the only thing that we cover or talk about.
Okay. So,
Hmm.
one 60-minute intensive or a 3-month or 6-month journey.
Yes, you got that right.
And it depends on what the client is really looking for.
Yeah, it depends on what the client is needing. So I just want to plan. I want to have a purpose statement. I want you to help me give my notice. I want to feel confident and I want to know how to tell people and I want to give myself permission, right? I want to feel like a lot of people come to that intensive saying, I really want one, but I don't know if I can. They know that they can, but they can't give themselves permission fully. So we crush that, right? In the intensive. For the 3 and 6 month clients, we start with the intensive and we roll it into biweekly
Mm,
coaching sessions where they're like continuing to build that momentum. We're talking about things like people pleasing. We're talking about obsession with productivity. How do I let this go? How do I learn to relax? How do I stop punishing myself? How do I let go of this achievement, overachievement, high, like super high achiever syndrome and learn how to enjoy my life? So we work on like some of the deeper stuff, but we start with the intensive. So they have a plan, but then we like go into the deeper stuff that's going to like hold them back or create a sabotage during their break, which I'm sure, you've seen in your space as well. Like one of the things is some people never stop job searching or checking LinkedIn for jobs when they're on a break. And I'm like, Please stop it. Please
Mhm.
stop. Please disconnect. Yeah.
The thing that I see more of in the job search, because people don't report to me about that, but what I do see a
Okay.
lot is like, I have taken up this new hobby and it is taking I'm writing my memoir, I'm building a birdhouse, there's an addition to my home. I have taken up, not like knitting, which might be, a mindless kind of thing.
Meditative and like, yeah,
Right. But like
ambitious.
I, the ambitious project, which aligns very much with how they got to the place they are,
Uh-huh.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I know how you got here. Let's
Yes.
let's try something new, right?
Yes.
But that's what I see most frequently is people who are like, "What if I just took some time and started a new business?" And I'm like, "Or what if you just slept?" "Oh,
Yeah. I'm like, you could do that. We
yeah."
wouldn't call it a break if you did it. We would just call it like a change of career thing, but cool. Yeah.
And maybe in a different location, like maybe,
Yeah.
like
Ah,
new
yeah.
view out the window while you do this new thing, but it's
Yeah,
not
while you do this
like,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
convincing
think
people to
that's
take a break on a break is actually harder than you might think.
so true. So I coach my clients on like having 3 to 4 themes, and one of my clients had this amazing word for rest. So usually rest, recovery, restoration is one of the 4 themes for most of my clients, some version of that. And I remember she picked this really beautiful phrase. She called it dolce far niente, which is Italian for the sweetness of doing nothing, which is like
Mhm.
idleness and like
Mm,
and I was like, "That's beautiful." And I was so inspired and excited to see how it played out, and it was funny because we laugh about it now, but it's like, it was just as hard for her as it was for everyone else, and
mhm,
that was the hardest theme that she had, and there was so much resistance that she had when she was at the beginning, even honestly into the middle of her break. It was
mhm,
really hard, especially when she stopped traveling. Because I think when you're traveling, sometimes if you're doing a lot, it feels like, "Okay, maybe I can have a rest day," but you're still
mhm.
doing a lot, but, like, resting doesn't feel so foreign, but when you are somewhere, whether it's at home or in one location for a while, that desire to like
To
be
do
doing the
stuff, yes.
things. Yeah. And it's almost like an unconscious need to justify your existence, right? Like,
Mhm.
do I have the right to exist if I'm not being productive? Like, I've got to put my energy into doing something
Right.
and resting doesn't count because then, like, otherwise, like, I'm not justifying like being on this break. I'm not justifying having this life. I'm not, and it's like, oh, you don't have to justify that.
Mm-mm. You don't. But we've been getting messages our whole life that we do, right? And
Yes.
so it's hard,
Hmm.
but deprogramming is so hard. So,
Yeah. It's a journey. It's not just like a one-step thing. It's definitely a
no,
journey.
it's a
Mhm.
constant, that
Yeah.
constant relearning.
Yeah. You up level, right? You
Yes.
go around the circle and you like you attack that and you get it. And then life is like, hey, let's try this at a higher level. And then let's try it again. And let's try it
Do it
again.
again.
You're like,
Mhm.
I did this already like
But
45
I
times.
learned my lesson.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. What are some things that what are some ways in which your life is better post break?
I mean, are we doing this for 4 hours? Because I could totally go on forever.
I'm
Is
gonna
my
limit you
life
to
better?
3
Okay.
ways.
Okay.
3 ways.
Okay. 3 ways.
Mhm.
There's so many. All right. I'm going to try to pick three good ones. So, number one is that I'm gonna I'm not gonna die with regrets. And I say that with
Wow.
confidence now because of the person I am, but also because of the break. Girl, I wrote a book. This book was mentioned in Forbes. I was featured in Forbes. I've changed nearly 100 people's lives.
You've been on a tour of
Oh yeah.
morning TV.
Yeah, I have been to that too.
By the way, did the guy from Philly reach out to you?
No.
Okay. He might have done something else.
Oh,
There was a guy
okay.
in Philly, a producer in Philly.
Oh my God, that would have been so fun. I totally would have done that.
And I
It
was
would have been
like,
amazing.
"Katrina McGhee's your girl."
Oh my God, I was on live TV. I've been
You
on
were
live
on live
TV.
TV.
It's like, what? And that was so terrifying. Again, terrifying, doing terrifying things, going outside your comfort zone. But it's like, it's incredible, right? So it's like, I have lived a life that is
Mhm,
1000 to your original point, right? Of things beyond your wildest imagination. I've lived a life that is bigger than I ever thought I could live, especially when I was the person trapped on the hamster wheel on the corporate grind, feeling like I was super stuck. And I feel like I have answered all of the questions I've had for myself to this point. Could I write a book? Could I do this thing? Could I take a break? Could I be a coach? Could I help people? Could I have an impact? Could I go on TV and spread my message, right? it's like I've done it all. And some things I
Mhm.
do imperfectly, but I know now what I'm capable of. And I can answer that question. And I can answer the question of what's possible for me as an entrepreneur, right? And so I feel like if I were to go tomorrow, of course, there would be this desire to have more time to do more things and spend more time with people I love, but no regrets. And honestly, I feel like I came, I showed up, I played the best game I could play. I left it all on the field, and I feel at peace with that. So I credit my break with getting my life back on track because that is 0% true of what I would have said in 2012 before I started
Okay.
my break. Right.
Mhm.
I would have been like proud of what I've done. I've done some things, but I would have felt like there's a whole unfulfilled life I didn't live. So that's number one. I'm going to die without regrets. Number two is I have loved so deeply on all the people, new and old, that I care about, that I feel like my cup is insanely full when it comes to connection. And that
Mhm.
matters to me. So I saw this chart one time that shows like in regards to like your parents as an example, like how many days you spend with them and it shows your whole life in dots. And basically it skews obviously most of the dots are in the first, 18 years for most of us in the chart. And it as you get older and you have like a family and you have jobs and you have other things and like whatever, those dots get very sparse. And so you're disproportionately at like the last 10% when you're in your like 40s or something like that because you just don't have that many days. I spend so much time with my family and I don't live with them. I'm not here all the time, but I love that I'm just free to go wherever I want and spend time with whomever I want. I've made so many new friends. I get to do amazing, crazy adventures with them. Like I got to meet you in person in Mexico City. And the next time we cross paths, don't think I'm not going to be like, hey, girl, we're hanging out. What are you doing?
What you
You know
doing?
what I mean? But it's like so amazing and so cup filling to feel this empowered to put quality time at the
Mhm.
forefront when in my corporate job with my 18 days of PTO, it was like I come home once a year, usually just for a holiday. I don't have time to see my friends that I really care about them, but they live in other places. Like I've got vacation, I've got holidays, I've got commitments. If I had a partner, like his family, it's just like all the things, sick days. And so I feel like my cup is so full. And the last thing I'll say is that I have shown up and created an impact in this world that goes beyond any level of what I was ever going to do because of my break. My break changed the whole trajectory of my life. The way that I've helped people, what I've helped people do, and the amount of people I've helped. I was never going to be this person as a market researcher at General Mills,
Mhm.
right? I was going to make some good cereal and some good yogurt decisions maybe so that we could sell a few more SKUs. Like that's it. That's it. Instead I'm changing lives.
Mhm.
That's so
And
cool.
that's something that, like, to your point, I feel the exact same way about, in that it felt like what I was doing before was, like, this big important job until I stopped doing it, and I realized it wasn't, like, not that there was no value in it,
Yeah.
but, like, compared to what I'm doing now, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Compared to what I'm doing now, it's, like, unfathomable.
Yeah. I had a moment toward the very end of my corporate job before my break, which was at General Mills. And General Mills is a big cereal company. They sell a lot of other things, but cereal is kind of, I think, where they started, and it's like a really big deal. And I remember like cereal was kind of like declining. Cereal sales were declining, and people were eating healthier things like yogurt and other things, especially kids for breakfast, right? Like other things were replacing cereal. Cereal, spoiler alert, is not a healthy breakfast. It's a great snack, but
Mhm.
typically it's a lot of sugar and a lot of starch, and it's not really how you should be starting your kid's day. And I remember getting into an elevator with like one of the leaders. It wasn't like the VP or anything, but it was like one of the executives, whatever, just happened to be in the same thing. And he was like talking on his phone about, like something and cereal and like we need to whatever with cereal. And there was a poster and it was about like I think the term like the war on cereal or something, but like the poster was just about saving cereal. And I was just like, this is not the hill I want to die on, is like
Yeah.
doing everything I can to save a sugary breakfast snack for kids to eat more of because actually I think they should be eating more yogurt and other things. And it felt so out of alignment. Not that it's bad, cereal has a place. The products they sell have a place, but it just felt like this can't be all I contribute because like I've got a lot more to give than this, and I also just don't really feel aligned with some of these things that I'm supporting. So
Yeah. The, so much of working for other people is like that though, right? It's the like,
Yes.
this is the job and it pays the bills.
Mhm.
A little tiny, like I never thought I'd be working for a financial institution lending people money, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? What are we doing? What is this?
Mhm.
Um, but when you're following like the corporate path, like, ooh, look at my title. Look at this. And there's so much freedom in not caring about that stuff, right? Which is hard to
Yes.
do when that's
Mhm.
all you know, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's really hard to do. It's the kind of thing that's hard to get out of it, but once you get out of it, it's like, oh, there's a whole new life. Like, Katrina, when's the last time as like in the first 10 minutes of meeting someone, you've asked someone what they did?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't
It
come up in
doesn't
the beginning. I mean, it might
it
come up
doesn't.
later, right? Because they spend time on
Yeah.
it, and I'm just
Yeah.
curious, but it's not like, yeah, yeah,
It's it's a weird non-question for me now, when before it was always like, you know, uh, a curiosity that was I think it was just curiosity, but,
mhm.
there's also the deciding how important somebody is and all the other stuff that
Oh,
comes
yeah.
along with, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the "What do you do?"
Yes.
questions. But now people
What
ask
do you
me,
do?
I'm like, "Why does that matter?" Right? Without, like, asking that back to them, it's kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, the other day I answered in some kind of flippant way, and the woman was, like, digging in, but no, like, "Why do you care
No,
so?"
we are getting an answer.
Right? Like, what difference is this going to make in your life
Mhm.
when you find out what I do? Also, it's a really hard, like, what we do is hard to explain to people, especially, like, in these other countries you go to. Like, in America, people are like, "Yep, I
Yeah.
get it." In
Yeah.
other countries, people are like, saying in Mexico that, like, I help women not work, they're like, "I don't uh,
You
what?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so it is kind of like there's a lot of privilege around what we do, but there's also a lot of pain around what we do, right?
Mhm.
And so it's walking through both those paths, through both
Yeah.
those fields. Like, we're walking
Yes.
like, the reason that Americans need career breaks is because as employees, we're treated like trash a lot,
Yes. Yes.
right?
A lot. Yes.
And in other countries, it's not that bad. And in some other countries, a lot of other countries, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But they also look at, like, you just decide to not work, and so you don't. Yep, yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's
hard to understand.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I feel like when I try to explain what I do, there are some people that immediately get it and are intrigued. But actually, I don't know if you found this to be true, but I find that in certain circles in the US even, when I start to share even like the headline summary of what I do, people dismiss it like, oh God, that's not even a real thing. I remember going to a Christmas party a few months ago, like this past Christmas, and there was a lawyer, a lawyer there, and she was like, working her high-powered lawyer job, but it was like a neighborhood Christmas party. My
Mhm,
friend lives in a very nice neighborhood in Atlanta, and my friend was introducing me, and she's like, "Oh, my friend Katrina's an author, and she helps people quit their jobs and take breaks." And the lawyer was like, "What? Oh." And she was like, "I could never do that. My job is really important." And I was like, "Yeah, I work with CEOs and VPs too. Like lots of important people take breaks." And she was like, "Well, my standard of travel is just so high. I don't have the savings to afford to like be on a break like that. Like I just work really hard because I like to have nice things." And I was like, "Where are we even going with this lady?" But
yeah,
like, do you know, it's like, but it's just like
yeah,
say what I do, and people are like, "Oh, that's for wusses that can't hack it or just,
yeah.
like weird." And it's like, no, actually, it's for people that want to live a really good life that is much bigger than the world that you are currently living in.
Mhm. It was at a party, same thing, at a
Oh yeah.
party in Mexico at a friend's house, and a woman said, she asked me when I don't talk about what I do generally because, like, you're not a client, so
Yeah.
whatever. my friend was doing the like, this is what Rashida does. And
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah,
she looks at me dead in my face and says, people pay you for that? If you get pushed down the elevator shaft, I will be in a different room. I will have an alibi. Cause like, what?
yeah,
Like, yep, yep, yeah. Mhm.
yeah. Mhm.
Thanks,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you for
Glad we did
that.
this. Glad we had this
Yeah,
conversation. Avoiding you for the rest of the
this
night.
this is good. I know, it's like, "Thank you for letting me know you are not someone I wanna talk to."
No.
Wow, and yes, been there. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's yeah,
Whatever. It's
whatever.
not for everybody, but the people that it's for, like, they're amazing. Like my clients and the people in our community, in the Exodus Summit community, you're still in the group, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like the people in the community in the group are so like you can see their lives expanding, right?
Yes.
You can see things getting bigger for them. And it's so like it's so wild to me. It's so like we've got 15,000 Black women in there now, and they're not all going to take breaks. Over 50, I think we're really close to 16.
Good.
They're not all going to take breaks, but what if 10% of them do, right? What if 20% of them do? What
Yeah.
if 5% retire earlier than they ever expected? And I'm like,
Oh, I just got chills, yeah.
like it's weird because
Mhm.
like you said, it's a life changing thing. It's not for everybody, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Everybody isn't ready, but it's a way it's a new way of thinking
Yeah.
that can change your life if you're open to it. If it's not like, "I'm too busy and important," or something like that, right?
Right?
Like
Yeah. Yes.
and to be to be fair, there was a time when I thought I was too busy and important to take a break. I would not have said that to
Mm.
someone,
Yeah.
right?
I would have just kept that to myself.
But I thought it, right? Like, when I
Yeah.
met the woman who lived somewhere in England and worked in a coffee shop and said, like, she worked for, like, 6 months and then traveled for
Yeah.
months, but she worked for months and traveled for months. I was like, but I have a real job. I can't do that. I have a grown-up job. I've got
Yeah.
bills. I've got a mortgage. I can't"
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But here I am, right?
You're like,
And living a
"Yeah."
better life, right? Living a
Yeah.
better quality of life, um, with more freedom, more joy, more money than before. And,
So amazing.
I like I said, I thought the same thing, but I would have had the class not to actually share.
Actually say it. I
Yeah.
was always secretly jealous of people like that. Like, I've always felt a little bit like a hippie and a weirdo, and I just
Yeah.
never really fit in. And so when people would tell me this, I would just feel intense jealousy, like,
Yes.
"Oh my God, I want to be you."
Was was the
Yeah.
jealousy productive or was it just kind of like hateful?
Wasn't productive. I think it was desire igniting, right? So
Okay.
for me, it was like these little chips or balls being put in an urn, and like filling it up over time
Yeah.
because it would just be like, oh God, this is possible. And you do this, and oh my God, I want to do it too. I really didn't hate on those people. All I wanted to do was trade lives with them. Like I really
Okay.
felt like for me, I felt like I was trapped in a life I did not want for a very long time. And I was like desperate to escape, but I felt trapped by my own success and by the just the like the things I'd already achieved. It's like, well, who gives these up? And so for me, it was like I was desperate to give them up, but I couldn't give myself permission to give them up because who does that? Only an irresponsible idiot that wants to ruin their life. But I
Mhm.
never felt like the things I did were important. But I also didn't have like I think there are certain jobs that are easier to become a part of your identity
Mhm.
like quickly, and I don't think like market researcher or actuary for me were those things, right? But I feel like there are certain things like lawyer, doctor, like when you've put years into your education and people know what the hell it is that you do, and it's like, it's an impressive thing. I feel like maybe it's easier to also feel like that is a bigger part of who you are earlier on. I don't know.
I would kind of challenge you on that, only
Oh,
because
okay.
I've met an actuary who it was their personality, right?
Okay, well
Like,
yes,
you've met
that's
actuaries who are
yes,
like,
that's yes, for
"And
me.
I
Yes,
passed
you are
all
right.
the tests,"
Yeah,
right? Like,
you are
"And
right.
I'm
Yes.
official."
You are right. Yes. I never felt like I was a true actuary. I felt like I was like in disguise, like
Ah,
undercover. But yes, you are
okay.
right. There are definitely people that is. So I would put
Yeah.
that in there too.
I
Yes.
think I think that it might be a little bit of like who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
that also feeds into it, or like how
Yeah.
long maybe you've wanted it. I don't know.
Oh,
But
and their
maybe
exams. Like those
yeah.
exams are brutal. And so
Mhm.
again, it's education in a different way, but it's like there's a lot of sacrifice and challenges,
Mhm.
and you have to be good and smart and do well at these exams to become a certified actuary. So I'm sure that that kind of like integrates with that as well, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's 2024, I think. Yes.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. What if you ran the world?
Okay.
Boop, boop, boop. You run the world right now. Boop.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gifting you that. I
Thank
don't
you.
have it to give, but I'm gifting it to you.
Okay.
You run the world. What does your 2025 look like?
Ah, okay. Um, if I run the world and anything is possible, my 2025 is me speaking at random ass places on random
Mhm.
ass stages about taking a break and giving yourself permission,
Okay.
being a part of panels. You're on a lot of those panels, so we're just like we keep like reconnecting in
I do want to
parts of the
speak
world. Like,
more.
hey girl.
So, hello. Let's claim that.
Yeah, I love that. Uh-huh. And I really feel like I'm living my best life because that's all that I'm really doing. I
Mhm.
love talking about this topic so
Mhm.
much. I love telling stories, my stories, client stories. I love inspiring people to think bigger in their lives, period. Especially in regards to breaks, but just period. And I feel like for me, selfishly, 2025 would be a year where all of the hard work that went into this really gets spread to a bigger crowd, and I get to champion that and do it in spaces that feel good, that feel exciting, with people that I love and admire. Of course, I'm also going to wish for world peace if I'm allowed to have that. I'm going to have that be the backdrop. But for me, selfishly, 2025 is a year where career breaks are really becoming more mainstream, and people are really having conversations about this in a big way. And it suddenly becomes, how do we start to create this as a real part of the career journey instead of this one weird anomaly that people struggle for years to give themselves permission to take?
Okay. It's amazing. Now, what would your ideal stage be?
Stage of what? Stage what?
Stage to
Oh, my
speak
stage.
on.
Oh, like to be. Oh,
Mhm.
woo. Oh my goodness. There are so many that would be fun for me. I
Mhm.
mean, there's what is it? Work Human, the big HR one. Like I
Mhm.
would that does like sort of alternative topics. Like I would really love to be talking about this in spaces where people have control over offering benefits like this and offering
Mhm.
support for people, because ultimately I'm here to make like the humans' lives better, not the
Mhm.
company's bottom line better.
Right.
I don't really care about that. I want to make the humans' lives better, but I know that being in spaces like that creates a lot of impact to make the humans' lives better, right? So a stage like that would be great from an impact perspective. And then, just it would be fun to be on the Tamron Hall show. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? I don't want to be
Yeah.
on a TEDx stage. I only want to be on a TEDx stage if I am magically gifted with perfect speaking ability, because that makes me so nervous. You've
Yeah.
basically memorized a 15-minute monologue that has to like floor people and leave them going, and I just like that's so much pressure. So much
Yeah.
pressure.
And
Hmm.
like it seems awesome, but all the people I know who do it well are like practicing for months and have coaches, and it's
Yeah,
like their
have
life
coaches.
revolves around it. And I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know, but the payoff for me, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
eh, mm,
Yeah. No.
mm, mm. Um, you said something that I wanted to follow up. What did you say that I wanted to follow up on? Come on,
Hmm.
come on.
Was it work
Stages.
human? Was it helping the people? Was it Tamron
Helping the
Hall?
people.
I don't know.
Okay, so one
Okay.
of my favorite clients took a career break. She owned a business, took a career break, and then she came back
Hmm.
to me and was like, "How can I design a career break program for the company she owns?" She was like, "I want the people who work for me to take a career
Oh,
break," and so we worked on designing one for them. And like after that experience, it's one of those things where like I'm super interested in doing that for companies, like you said, but like not that interested in like working with companies. You know what I mean? Like I want
what you mean? God, I do know what you mean.
like I
Yes.
without like stepping my foot back and any corporate meetings at all. Right?
Yes.
Like,
Or writing corporate
leave me.
proposals.
I don't want to talk to HR about
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
but like, give your people a career break.
Yeah, I would love to. What? I mean, one of my dreams, so this would also be a dream, would be to be a paid consultant that comes into companies that offer sabbaticals and
Hmm.
to be a resource that gives a workshop on how to
Mm,
like utilize this time for
hmm.
yourself and to really replenish and reinvigorate yourself and all the things for the employees that are sabbatical eligible, right? So
Hmm.
encouraging them to take the benefit and then helping empower them to know how to use it to give themselves permission to rest and to know how to structure it so they don't feel like it was a waste, but they also don't overwork on their break. That would be a dream. But to your point, I haven't figured out how I can do that without being in the corporate waters and swimming in that
Yeah.
pool. And I'm just like, oh, I just every time I just I don't think I could do it. I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Like, it would need to be like a very, it would need to be a very kind of special situation,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't, I can't imagine happening. See, I don't have the vision for it yet,
Not
like in
yet.
the
Yeah.
corporate world where like
Mm-hmm.
I show up, I give a speech and I get paid and then I leave and that's it. Okay, bye. Right?
Yeah.
I don't have to write a proposal and pitch to
Yeah.
you and like
Oh, you know what
find
you
the
could
email
be?
address of.
Yeah, you could be like Target. So when I lived in Minneapolis and was working at General Mills, I know that Target does, but Target would have like their annual employee whatever. So like once a year they have like an employee meeting, whatever, and there'd be like work stuff, but then they would have speakers come in
Mhm.
and it would be entertainers that would perform
Mm,
and just like famous people that would just speak. It wasn't even like
mm,
necessarily super educational. It might be inspirational, a little leadershipy, but it was just bringing in like celebrity people and performers and things to basically like bring the energy up. And so
mhm.
you could be paid. I mean, that wasn't like a corporate-y thing. It was like you were at an offsite, somewhere cool, just talking about the stuff that you talk about. So anyway, that exists.
You know that yes, and if I was Beyoncé, I might not need a deck, but you know they're gonna be like, "Okay, what are you talking about?
Yes. Oh my God,
Show
the
us your talk.
decks. I know the proposals though.
Send us the script ahead of time
Uh-huh.
because we
Yeah.
don't want you going up there
Right.
and riling them up." But hey,
True.
Target, if you're listening, hi, let's talk.
Yeah. Talk to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that part of that too, though, is like in talking to people about sabbaticals. When I have had that conversation before, I can't remember who I was talking to. Oh, I was talking to someone about like why it really wouldn't work to like pitch to companies
Yes.
because for most of the people I know who take sabbaticals, they don't go back, right? Like they don't, and so it's like, yeah, I'm gonna try to talk clients out of your
Yeah.
employees out of ever working for you again. Are you okay with
Yeah.
that? Like that's
Yeah.
like that's the thing Target doesn't want me to say.
No,
You should
it's true.
quit and never come back.
No, it's true. It's true. And that's why I think like for us, I think being in that space would be challenging because like I
Mhm,
said, my priority is helping the humans.
mhm.
And some of the humans want to come back, but a lot of the humans don't. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like I want to set them free. That was actually a challenge I had. So I worked on one corporate client. I did not secure said client, but I have a friend that works in corporate spaces
Mhm,
and she hired me to help do sabbatical consulting for one particular person in
mhm.
the company that was going to take a sabbatical.
Is this a friend I know?
Yes.
Okay, alright.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
on
it
board.
is.
Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. And so I was so excited to do it, but I found it really challenging because I'm used to showing up 100% for the person, for the human. But
Mhm,
if a company is paying me through this, third
mhm,
third party whatever, like I'm getting paid, it's like I'm not trying to encourage this person to quit. Not that they were saying I want to quit, but they're asking big questions on their break. Like what is my
yeah,
future going to be like? Am I burnt out? Do I want to come back? And I have to show up for that person but also understanding there's this other vested party that doesn't want their person to leave, right?
right.
And so it's a really complicated space to do what we do when we care about the humans
Mhm,
because a lot of times the people will leave. Now sometimes that leaves space for other people to come in and I think in a world where breaks are just normal, people are rotating through and they're finding inspiration at new companies that old people felt burnt
mhm.
out in. But that's not the case right now. And
No.
so to the point, it's like I could set you free, but then I don't think anyone would want to ever
Right.
hire me to speak. So yeah, it's tricky.
You're gonna,
It's
like, get
tricky.
blackballed of a speaking
I
circuit.
know.
Don't hire
Do
Katrina.
not. My name will be like on one of
Whatever
those things, like where
whatever
it's
you
like, don't
do.
let this person come here, you know? Yeah, like don't. Don't let her
Be
come.
like our
Don't even take
photos
her
at the
calls.
front door. Like,
Yeah,
no.
exactly like that. It's like, don't even let her in the building. Don't. Hmm.
Okay, so for someone who's, like, on the fence about taking a career break,
Yeah.
on the fence because of money, what would you
Okay.
say?
Yeah. Okay. So my first question, I have a question that I'm going to ask them. Do you have access to the money? Like, because people will say I can't afford it. And what I've learned is that's a nuanced conversation because
Hmm.
a lot of people that say I can't afford it kind of goes back to what you're saying about your mom, right? It's like, no, I actually could, I have the money, I have the means to make this happen, but I'm choosing not to. And for other people like myself, it's like, oh, I have $1,500 in my bank account. Like, I really, really don't have access to this money. So if you actually do have access to the money, or you could get it in a couple months, and you're saying you can't afford it, I'm going to ask and challenge you to think about what a break really is. It is not a big expense. It is a massive investment in your well being that will
Hmm.
pay dividends for the rest of your life. So, if it's a massive investment for your well being and you're saying you can't afford it, I want you to tell me 3 to 4 other things that you've invested purely in your well being in place of that, right? So we'll pay money for cars, we'll pay money for
Hmm.
vacations, we'll drop a lot for plane tickets, we'll drop for house renovations and all these things, education, right? Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But we don't often drop that kind of money into investing in our own well being. And so if you're telling me you can't afford it, but you have access to the money, I want to know, right? Like, well, what are you investing in your well-being? Because probably you can afford it. You just haven't framed it that way. I
Hmm.
mean, it's really truly what people spend on vacations nowadays is astronomical in my mind because I'm still kind of a budget traveler. But it's like a career break doesn't have to be massively
Hmm.
expensive. Now, if you're the other person that you're like me and you're like, I got pennies to rub together, I don't know how, like, I'm kind of living not even paycheck to paycheck, but I'm just living at my means and I'm not really finding the space to save. I wrote about this in the book, but it comes down to starting to track every penny you spend for 1 to 2 months, even though it's unsexy and people hate doing it. You have to know what unconscious choices you're currently making with your money. And then you get to decide every time you want to do something, you can do whatever the hell you want to do, right? There's no wrong. I got Invisalign. I did laser hair removal when I was saving for my break. So it wasn't like I was living in a cave full of like, deprivation where I wasn't doing anything. I was investing in a lot of things, but mostly my break. But you have to get clear on what your money is actually doing and then align the actions with the values. If you value a break, if you know your purpose statement, if you really want this time off, if you are in a place like, you were Rashida, where you're like, this job might actually kill me. What are you doing? Where are you spending that money? Are you directing it towards a fund to buy your freedom, to buy your well being, to pay for like, the happiness, fulfillment, like to give you the access to that place? Or are you just leaking it on things that are self soothing to kind of like compromise with the fact that your
Hmm.
life kind of sucks right now, or it really is draining, or it's really unhealthy and you're completely imbalanced. And so I encourage people to know where their money's going and then to make better, more aligned decisions over time. And just like you said, one step at a time, keep saving that money.
All right. So I want to work with you. So how do I do that, Katrina? What's the what's the step?
Yeah, I love that step. Well, you can go to me on Instagram. You can find me on
Hmm.
Instagram and just DM me and say, hey, I want to work with you. Also, there's a website,
Hmm.
kmcgeecoaching.com. And I have a link there for, ways I work with people, but I love the intensives. I think they are a great first step. And so even if you want to do the 3 months or the 6 months, you can start with an intensive and then you can upgrade into the life coaching
Hmm.
packages. So I feel like that's a really awesome place to start. You can find that on my website, but also just DM me. I'll send you a link. We can talk about it, see if it's right for you, if you have questions. But ultimately, you're going to get your blueprint mapped out and you're going to see what coaching can do and you're going to feel really excited about a break. And if you want to take those changes forward and keep working on the process and the internal changes, like I'm here for that. But I think the intensive is a great place to start and it's a one and done. So, if you want to walk away from that, you've got your blueprint. And if you want more, you can get more.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Um, what is the question? What is the issue that comes up most in the intensive?
Oh,
Is it permission or is it something else?
yeah. Well, permission is the underlying thing. So people
Hmm.
a lot of times don't know that that's the thing, but they'll come saying, I'm not sure I can take a break. And if I could take a break, I don't know what that would look like. So really, it's permission to understand that you don't have to have all the answers, but giving a structure so that the internal permission is also easier to give. When you have a purpose statement, like I work with people to create a purpose statement and to articulate their 3 to 4 themes. Like I give them pre-work ahead of time. So they answer a lot of questions, they do some prompts that they journal on, and they send me their homework in advance. I go through it. I spend a lot of time really putting it together and mapping out what do I think their purpose statement is, what came up for me, what do I think their themes are, what fears are holding them back. And then we just like dive really deep in that session. But a lot of it does come down to permission, but it's being articulated as I really want to. I just don't know what it would look like, or I just don't know if I can. And so once we
Mhm.
get the purpose statement, we talk about maybe what it could cost. Some people have health insurance concerns, which is part of it too. It's like, what would I do for that? We can address anything that feels like an obstacle in that hour. And it's like, oh, now I see a bigger vision, even though I don't have specifics. And I also know that it's possible. And this person has validated my feelings that I want to leave, my really great job, and this person has validated my desire to take a break. And now there is a world of possibility. I just have to start executing whatever pieces I have to put together, whether it's just the planning, whether it's the planning and the saving, or sometimes it's just giving your notice. I did an
Mhm.
intensive with someone 2 weeks ago, and she had been thinking about taking a break for several years. And she got on the intensive with the same, position of like, I'm not sure if I could, but I really would like to, but I don't know. Does it make sense? When's the right time? I'm not really sure. I have 2 kids and a husband. Like, I don't really know. We did the intensive, we mapped it all out, and she sent me an email like 8 days later and was like, so I gave my 2 months notice on Monday. What?
That's
Yeah, so it's
amazing.
it's like magic. Yeah, it's awesome. That happens a lot. It's just really having some concrete
Mhm.
details, understanding and validation to be like, I'm not crazy. This is possible, and I now see a vision for how I could bring this to life.
That's amazing. All right, Nicole wants to know, how do you give yourself permission if you honestly are content, fully content in your job/life? Just want to do it for fun, but like don't hate your
Oh,
job. Everything's
yeah.
good.
Sorry, just get my little cord over here. Um, you can absolutely look into taking a leave of absence. Like if you really love your job and you are
Mhm.
super content and you just want some time, I would say go to your, I mean, you say this, Rashida, like it's genius and I repeat it, but like go to your employee manual, right? See what your handbook, see what the benefits are, see if you can take a leave of absence if you want to come back. If you feel like you want to leave your employer, but you like the career path that you're in, by all means, at that point, really think about what kind of break you need. Maybe your break is shorter because you don't have all of the burnout healing to do. You just get
Mhm.
to the fun part. I don't know, but you absolutely can take a break. And if you feel like you want to stay where you are, I would look at what those options were before you talk to your manager. But I've honestly had clients that give their notice to take a break and are offered leaves of absence instead, or alternative work solutions to try to keep them. Usually doesn't work, but they are offered those things, so it is possible. But if you really just want to break free and you like what you do, you want to come back to the same field but a different company, then I would think about how long do you need to really lean into the things that you're interested in doing. And that's where, for me, when I plan with clients, the themes come in, is understanding how many themes and what are your themes so you can get an idea of how much time would you need on a break to make them happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What is something we haven't talked about that we should talk about before we get out of here?
Man, we've talked about so much good stuff,
Many things.
Rashida. Like I mean, I always want to talk about you because I'm like, what is like, it's so amazing all the things you do. I think, at the end of the day, I would love to know from your perspective what the power, because I think I know, but I would love to hear from you. What is the power of community that you see in regards to helping people take a break? Because I coach, but you really build community. You and Stephanie, and then even Burnout to Bliss builds community. So like, I would love to know the power of community and the importance of community when you see people taking a break.
So one of the things, there are a few different things that
Hmm.
really work for me in sort of like the community model and the group coaching model. And one of those is that I am a part of the circle, but I'm not the center, right?
Yeah.
It's nice to have communities where someone has a question and they shoot it to the group and get multiple opinions, right? Because I have
Yeah.
an answer, but my answer is colored by everything I've gone through in my life,
Yeah. It's
right? And all the
biased,
coaching
right?
I've done and all the
Mm-hmm.
people I've talked to, right? But like,
Mm-hmm.
um, in From Burnout to Bliss one day, someone was saying that they were looking for a job and someone else had like a couple of maybe like 5 passes to LinkedIn Plus Premier, whatever like the
Yeah.
paid LinkedIn was.
Yeah.
And like she gave them to everyone in the who wanted one in the group. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have had that because like I pretend LinkedIn doesn't exist. Right. Like not the best choice, but it's a choice I make,
Yeah, it's
right?
a choice.
And so being in community with other people who want the same thing you want means that they're bringing their things, the good and the bad, to the table. And when you cultivate healthy communities with healthy people, which I think is really the key part. You know what I'm talking about, Katrina.
Yes, I do. I do.
Cultivating healthy communities with healthy people means that the good is for the good of all, and the bad that we bring, we're bringing for it to be less bad. We're not bringing to like I'm not bringing my poop to the circle to like throw it at everybody. I'm bringing my
Yeah.
poop to the circle to say like, how do we deal with this, right?
Yes.
And in a lot of communities, you don't see that. You see the like, I have I had this trauma, and so I'm either going to trauma dump or I'm going to like volley this at all of you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but when the people you're with care about your well-being, when you're in community with people
Mhm.
who care about your well-being, that's not what it looks like. It looks like people saying like, "I've been there too," right? A lot of times
Yeah.
in our community, someone will say like, "I want to travel with my children." I don't know what that's like, right? I've traveled with children.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. But,
Mhm.
like, maybe that's not what a mom would say, right? Or,
Right.
like, "How do I get my husband on board?" "Oh, girl, I don't know. Why are you so married to
Yeah.
that man?" Like, I don't if he's not on board, why is he around? But, like,
Yeah.
perhaps you don't want advice if it's about leaving your husband. Well, she has an answer for you, right? And she has an answer that comes from care and concern and experience in that matter, right?
Yeah.
And so community plays a role in the sense that like it's not just it makes it easier for me to coach in group coaching. I don't have to know
Yeah.
everything. Sometimes I can be like, "Oh girl, I don't know. Like who does know
Yeah.
this?" Like I
Yeah.
just don't know.
Yeah.
Um and then sometimes it's just about being having more people holding space, right? It's a
Mhm.
larger community that can hold the space for you when you need it. It's a larger community that can care for you. It's a larger community that can help keep you accountable.
Yeah.
And you see that in like the paid program that I do, and you also see it in the Facebook group that is free. You
Mhm.
know, people are in there being community and being their sister's keeper, right? And that's
Yeah.
it's stuff that I honestly I don't always have the space for. Like I want to take naps and eat snacks. I don't have the space personally to be there for everybody. Listen,
Yeah.
when my phone makes a sound, I am irritated. So, like Marco Polo? Oh, no.
So
Asynchronous communication? No, no.
yeah.
No, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, right? Um, but the joy in what we do
Mhm.
is the joy I've never found before, and that is I get to run my business in a way that works for me.
Yeah.
Right? And I tell
Yeah.
people this all the time. If they're starting your business, you don't need a business that works for your what you think your client wants. You need a business that works for you. Because
You've
there's
done
no
such
point.
a great job with that too. I mean, I feel like from the jump I mean, from the beginning, like how you've created it, what you've created. And you're talking about like even right now, like you're talking about building healthy community in a very easy way that makes it sound like it's just easy to facilitate that. And I can speak to the fact that like it's not, right? Like it's not. And to
Yeah.
yes, you can anybody can set up a community, but to foster that and to create one that is self-sustaining and like you said, where the burdens come to be lessened, not to be
Mhm.
multiplied. I mean, I see in even just the Facebook group how to your point, even the people that might never take a break, they come with their challenges, and
Mhm.
somebody has faced something similar and has a word of encouragement to get them one step further along in their journey so that their life can feel a little bit lighter and a little bit more possible. But you're talking about it like it's, just something you do.
Well,
I just do
and
a community. I
and
mean, but I
I
feel like
think
it's
that's
magical.
I I think that's because I don't know any other way to create community. Because, like,
Yeah.
if I was in a community where people were, like, nasty to each other, I would just shut it down. Like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
truly,
Same.
like,
No.
this isn't what I want. And I
Mm-mm.
really believe and I can't say it enough. Like, it sounds selfish, but if you're going to start a business, you
Yeah.
have to start a business that works for you, or you won't wanna be like, you're just signing up for that old job that you hated. Like, if you had a job that you
Yes.
hated
Oh,
and you
yes.
set up your job, do your new entrepreneurship doing things that you hate, it's gonna feel a lot like something you need to take a break from. And I don't need to
Yes.
take a break from my career now, right? I've set up
Yeah.
post-career break, right? I know what works for me, I know what doesn't work for me, and I set up a business, multiple businesses in ways that work for me because the alternative is hating what I do, and I don't wanna do
Yeah,
that.
that's not a yeah, who wants that? No, I love it. I
I'm
love
good
it.
with
I
that.
love what
Yeah,
you do. And I
yeah.
love the communities that you create. And so being somebody that, I tend to thrive in one-on-one containers more.
Mhm.
Just I don't know, it's probably a personality thing, but I really love and see the importance of community. And so I think that's something you and Stephanie both do really well, and I totally
Thank you.
admire. But yeah, I think it's really special. So I have one last thing I would want to say. It's really quick, but like of all the things we didn't talk about, I feel like we've covered so many good things, and I think we've already talked about it, but I just want to come back, underscore it. Please don't think that taking a break is a privilege that you don't deserve or that it's
Mm,
really even a privilege. Like it's a privilege to have the means to do it, yes. But if we always preface it by talking about what a privilege it is, I think it makes it feel like it's only for a
mhm,
certain kind of person at a certain income level.
mhm,
And I think you do this work in your communities, and I do this work with my clients. I am here to reframe that. And even if you can't take a break that looks like mine, I want you to take the break that you need, even if it has to look different. It doesn't mean that you can't take one. And I want to create a world with more accessibility and more possibility. And I feel like it's really important. So, part of that language around disclaimering the hell out of I'm taking a break or thinking about taking a break with like what a privilege it is actually does a disservice to you feeling like you deserve it, but like
mhm,
also it does a disservice to the other people around you that might feel like they make less or they have more commitments or something, right?
mhm,
And it's just like, oh, well, I'm not privileged, so I can't do it because it's only
mhm.
for certain kinds of people. And I'm here, right? Like wrote this book to try to make it possible for everyone. So,
Yeah, I think it's really
yeah.
important, and it's really important, um, for the must be nice people, instead of looking
Yeah.
at, like, the ways that this person is privileged and they get to do it.
Mhm.
Look at the ways that, like, you can break down some of what you consider your barriers, right?
Yes.
What are the ways that you can say like, okay, like I have kids. This might be more challenge. Like you don't know what this other person has to, what barriers they have.
Yeah.
But if you
What
see a
obstacles?
barrier for yourself, an obstacle, how do you say like, what are the ways that I can work with this, what I consider an obstacle to still get the thing I
Mhm.
want, whatever that thing is. Fun
100%.
question from Ra. When a person is
Okay.
laid off from a good job, is that considered as a career break or is that considered slow panic? And I think it's fun because one of the things that I always tell people is like, it's really, really hard to see at the time,
Mhm.
but the end of a job is definitely like a blessing point, right? Like
Yeah.
there is always some good that can come from it. It just depends on how you frame it. The first time I got laid off, and these are both terrible jobs, both were not good jobs. I mean, the pay was good, but like the
Yeah.
people were terrible. But the first time, straight panic, nothing but panic. I will never work again. Recession. No one's hiring what I do.
Yeah.
I wasted all that time in law school. I will be unemployed forever. Right. And the second time I was like, what if I just packed a bag and went to travel the world? And those
Yeah.
were boop, 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 no, those were 8 years apart.
Well.
So, I was a different person then,
Mhm.
but still like your perspective when it happens is what matters, right? And
Yes.
too frequently I see people, and I always cry a little tear. There's always a little tear inside when I see this happen. Too frequently I see people um end a job on a Friday and start a new job on a Monday. And I'm
Oh my
like,
God. Yes.
I,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
I've had conversations with women who are like burnt out and are like dying, and they're like, well, I just quit my job. I start the new job on Monday. And I'm like, that's not what you do when you're
Yeah.
burnt out and dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I've seen people quit a job, go on a break, and then start looking for jobs 2 weeks into their break and just decide that they're not going to take a break. And a month later, they ended a break that they thought would be 6 months and they couldn't even take it for more than 2 weeks.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
if when your job ends, whether it is a layoff or you quit, give yourself some time. Like because it's so hard. We are so wedded to employment in the US that it's really hard to ever get that break. Right? So
Hmm.
if your job is ending voluntarily or involuntarily, give yourself 2 weeks. Right? If
Yeah.
you need to start a new job, tell them I need 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
give yourself some time. It's truly the best thing you can do for yourself, especially if you're burned out. If you're burned out, if you're tired, don't go on vacation. Stay home, sleep, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
And
what
I
you
want
need
to,
more than anything.
yeah. And I want to add to that, I think that is a great question. So I will say also, no matter if it starts voluntarily or involuntarily, if you're able to create space to make
Mhm.
it a break, you can reclaim ownership over it.
Mm,
I love to talk about how if you do want to re-enter the workforce in some capacity when your break is over, a break can be an asset. It is not
mhm.
a deterrent. It is not a distraction from the thing. It is actually something that can make you more powerful, more unique, and stand out. And if you know how to sell it and position it, you can reframe it in a way that it is truly an asset to you in the job search, right? That's how I got those 5 offers in 5 weeks. And so, what I would say is, if you really want this to be a break, to what you said, Rashida, like lean into it, claim ownership. Even if it started not on your terms, like you didn't choose the start date, you have the power to say, okay, well, I'm going to make this a break, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. If you have a severance, that's probably like a more accessible thing, but I'm going to own this for however long. And I'm going to make it about me and my needs and what I want and need to get out of this. And then you have a story. Then you have
Mhm.
the things to talk about. And you also have a way to make this break create a better version of you for you. Not like a better performer, but like a more restored version of you, a more
Mhm.
peaceful version of you, a more fulfilled version of you, right? So you can reclaim that ownership if you have the financial means to take a little bit of time off before you go back into the search. And I would highly encourage you to do that if you can.
Definitely, definitely. All right, Katrina.
Yeah.
Um, in your head,
Okay.
think of a number between 1 and 100.
28.
No, in your head.
Oh,
Okay, Katrina is thinking of a number right now, and it is not 28.
it's not 28. I'm fixing to
Not
do
28. If you want a copy of Taking a Break, Taking a Career Break for Dummies, please, only if you want a copy for you, not to give away, a copy for you
Yeah.
of Taking a Career Break for Dummies, please write your number between 1 and 100, not 28,
Okay.
between 1 and 100 in the comments, and I will give. Okay, can you write it down? Oh, write
Yeah.
it in the private chat. Write it in the private
Okay.
chat so
Yes.
we have it.
Okay.
So
I got
you
it.
can't cheat, you can't change your number. Not that you would cheat, but it's already written
Yeah.
down.
It's
Write
written
your number
down.
down,
I wrote it down.
and we'll find the winner. Let me see what this number is. In your head. All right. We'll see who gets closest.
While we're
Boom,
waiting for
boom,
that,
boom.
I
Yes.
also have to say one of the biggest exciting things that happened is so I wrote the book and it came out in paperback because that's the main format. But it did well enough in its first few months that the rights got purchased by a media company and it recently came out in audiobook format too. So I'm excited for people that like to listen to books instead of read
Mhm.
books. Like it's in a new format that can help reach more people. So I'm really excited about that too.
I saw it in audiobook format, but I assumed they did that for everybody. It's not?
No, yeah, no, because they don't really do audiobooks often. So
Okay.
what will happen is a media company will say, "We want to buy the rights to these books." And they do buy some of the Dummies books, but not
Mhm.
all of them.
So I was actually surprised because a lot of times when books are turned into audio format, you hear the author going on about how terrible the recording process is. And I know I would have heard that from you if you were, so I saw somebody else record it. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'm surprised you didn't do it. But then I was also like, I hear terrible,
Yeah, it's a nightmare. I mean, I've
terrible
heard
things
it's a
about it.
nightmare, and I
Yeah.
had no doubts that it would be. But they didn't even give me the choice because when they sold the rights, it's kind of like being a singer, I guess. Like if you're,
Mhm.
what is it? If the label owns your song or something, they can sell it to other people to cover it, and like what happens to it, it's out of your control, kind of. So they sold the rights, and I didn't even get asked like who the author or who the narrator should be. I was lucky that it was someone that I was like, okay, that's cool. But I didn't love the way she read it. But I heard that if you listen to it at 1.2 times speed, it sounds better. So,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
if you want the audio version, if you get the audio version,
Yeah.
the link to get the book is in the description, and I think it's in the chat as well. All right, I think we're coming up to our last entry any
Okay.
second now. Cece says, how long are we playing this game for? Okay, we're gonna stop now. A Hanley is, oh no. A Hanley is I already, Nadwella is the last entry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I hate saying that, but I have to say that. Okay, so Nadwella B is the last entry. And no one hit it, but we double check. I think we have 3 winners. I don't know what to do with that. Oh, this is not what I
Well,
had planned.
not what I had planned.
Not what I had
Um,
planned.
yeah. Well, let's see. I would give away a copy. You're giving
Okay,
away a copy.
okay.
What do we do for the third person? Do we want to
Oh,
do, we could do an audiobook. Does somebody want an audio? I could do a paperback and one paperback, one audio, and then you could do paperback or whatever it was you wanted to do.
okay, yeah, that's fine. That's perfect.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
let's do it.
people. So I hope one of you wants an audiobook. One of you's getting an audiobook. So her number was 64, which means that Black Cat 15 hit 65. New Life Creator was 63. We did not have a 64 that I saw, did we? No. But then Nadwella is the last 65. So we have two 65s and one
Okay.
63. So
Okay.
you guys
Nice win.
email me. Thank you so much, Katrina, because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to give away a book. And then
I give away 40 books.
in your head, the number. Okay, so you guys email me
Yeah.
at hello@rashidadow.com. I'm putting this in the comments and tell me your username, your real name, your address, and what
Yep.
format you want. If all of you
Yeah.
guys want the same format, I'll just write you back and tell you no. Sorry. Um, so yay, we did not have this planned, obviously, because
Yeah. Oh, good. That was fun. It was an
life
adventure.
happens like this sometimes.
Yeah, life
Okay,
happens.
so 2 paperbacks, 1 audiobook going
Yeah.
out. Jennifer said she can do the thingy. Let me write. Oh, no, Jennifer, you weren't one of the winners. But I love that you are.
Jennifer's like, I'm on it. What's happening? I'm
Okay,
doing it.
let me actually write these names down so I don't forget. All right,
Okay.
Katrina, as always, it was amazing to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here. Now who are my other winners? Black Cat 15,
Hmm.
Nadwella B, and who was 63?
There was somebody in between. I think Black Cat was the first one that you
Yes.
mentioned.
Yes. This is the admin work that comes with every small
Yeah.
business owner. New Life Curator was 63.
Okay.
All right, friends. Email me at the email address I wrote in the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, you cannot win. It's
Ah,
just I know someone's gonna drop a comment a number in the comments. It can't
yeah.
win.
I just
It's
can't win.
it
It
just
can't
can't.
happen.
Sorry. All right. Well, for those of you guys watching here live, thank you for being here. Curator Katrina, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I feel like it's too early. Like it does not feel like we talked for 2 hours.
I
What
know.
do you think?
Agreed. Agreed.
Okay.
I always have fun chatting with you, though. I feel like time just flies by. I could ask you so many, I have so many questions for you. Like, we're gonna need a private chat part two because I just have so many questions for your life
We
right now.
Katrina and I always end up like near 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 near
Yeah,
near near
it's true.
near near. Um, and I think also like we didn't talk about this, but this is one of those times where like collaboration gets you so much farther than competition because we do the same thing. We have clients
Yeah,
that overlap. Like
we do. Clients that overlap. I
we
know.
do.
We
We
do.
have the same audience for some of what we do, and we have, but like the world is bountiful, right? And people want one
Hmm.
thing from me and a different thing from Katrina. And it's like
Yes.
it's it's amazing to have people in your community that you can when you're doing something that not a lot of people understand, it's amazing to like do it with people who understand it as well. And Katrina's one of those people that like it feels good to talk to her and it feels good to do things like this with her because like she gets it.
Yeah.
And even though like pushing clients towards her doesn't feel like a loss for me, it feels like a win for
Yeah.
all of us, right? Because like
Same. Oh my God.
someone is
Yes.
gonna hear her and be like, "I resonate so much with her," and like hire her, and you guys should. Like you really should. She's amazing at what she does. Um, and that like that's a great way to feel, right? And so I
Yeah.
want you guys to think about that as you move ahead in your life, that like there's no lack of clients in the world for whatever it is you want to do, right? And there's
Hmm.
nothing you can do that is going to be so short of clients that like you can't be open and generous and create community, right?
Yeah.
And
I
so
get
Katrina,
so excited when I push people in your direction because I feel like they're going to get something that's amazing and it's something I just don't provide. Like that sense
mm,
of community and just I think you guys open up the world to people, right? Like I travel, I can talk about places I've been and things like that, but you guys have a bunch of resources that you tap into and experiences that you personally have that you just like open the world up. And I think that's really spectacular. And so anytime like I said, when I meet someone that doesn't know what you do, or hasn't met you or Stephanie or fallen into your world or into Exodus, I get so excited when I'm like, let me tell you about this magical candy land that you don't even know.
magical
It's over
candy.
here. It's over here.
All
Go over
right.
there, right? I love
So
it.
Exodus Summit ladies, I need you guys, we need to pull Katrina back in a little bit more. I haven't seen you in the group in a while. And so I think you're a lurker and we need you to post in there about something
Okay.
or at least comment on a post so we know you're back in there. I need to see you in there, Katrina.
Okay. I will
All right,
comment.
this
I will
is
comment.
she's not gonna post, but she's gonna comment. Okay, commenting is fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I'll
Okay,
post. Maybe I'll challenge myself.
commenting is fine because you have a
Okay.
lot to give, and so I would
Yeah.
love it if
Okay.
I'm forcing you now
Okay.
to
Challenge accepted.
to give. Thank you guys for being here with us today. Thank you, Katrina, for being awesome as usual. Uh, Everybody go have a good day wherever you are. I am in Dublin. I'm leaving tomorrow for Belfast.
Mm,
One day in Belfast. I heard you don't need
okay.
more than one day in Belfast. Have you been?
Okay. I haven't been to Belfast. I've been to Cork and
Okay.
Galway and out by the water, but I have not been to Belfast.
Okay. This will be my
Hmm.
first time. So I'm
It's
excited
exciting. Yeah.
for this. But I live in Ireland now. My friend, I visited my friend, Katrina. Visited
Yeah.
my friend who lives out like on the water. Like I got to the train station. The train station is on the water. And I was like, "It's not fair that you get to live like this. It's not." I was like, "This
Yeah.
is terrible. I hate you.
Where?
Why do you live like
Where
this?"
was it?
She's just outside of Dublin. So she's like
Okay.
in a burb. Like it's like the train from Dublin takes you,
Okay.
like the
Okay.
metro will take you out there, right?
Hmm.
And yesterday she said, "You want to do a house swap?" And I was like, "In the summer?" Yeah. She was like, "Yeah, like next summer." I met her on my break in Vietnam.
Oh my God, that's so fun.
I met her on my break randomly at a food stop. I was there with a friend, and we saw another Black woman in Vietnam, Irish, and Now
Amazing.
I have a home in Ireland next summer.
Oh my God. I'm coming to visit.
Because okay, we're gonna end this, but I want you to understand that the people you meet when you enter this lifestyle are a different breed of people. They're not
Different.
people who say things like, I really like nice things, and so I can't. They're people who say like, you said you want to be here. You want to stay in my place? I can stay in your like. That's sure, right? And there's no like it's all joy. It's all
Yeah.
the people you meet in this life are bringing like 95% joy. Every once in a while, you get like a weirdo,
Yeah.
mm, right?
Yeah.
But like most of it are just like excellent people who just want to be happy somewhere in the
Yeah.
world,
Or
right?
just busy living, like really living.
Really living, like deep living,
Deep
right?
living. Yeah.
Deep living.
Mm. Yeah.
So thank you, Katrina. You guys, I'm really excited about that. So I had to share it. I will talk to you guys. I don't know if I'm going to talk next. So my birthday is next Saturday. So I don't know if I'm going to talk to you on Sunday. I might not. Cause
Happy
like,
early birthday.
thank you. I accept gifts.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
talk about that later.
stay on the lookout. Yeah. Stay on the lookout.
You're like an
I wouldn't even
audiobook
know where to send it.
and a paperback.
Send you an audiobook.
All right. Thank you guys. We're gonna end it now. And then Katrina and I are gonna talk for like another 30 minutes. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.